Oh gosh, I'm live. Hey, this is Ken Rockwell with a live pop-up broadcast here in lockdown about video lighting. You guys have all been asking me about how to do better video lighting for your Zoom time calls and your live you do. And here's the thing, you always need lighting. It's always about lighting. In fact, can I zoom this in? Yes. And I should say this is a live broadcast. I can respond to your questions live. Just post them in the comments, and I can see that live while I'm broadcasting here. Now, I can also play with my lights. I got lights set up here. This is what I like with no light. This is what I did the last time I did one of these live broadcasts. And although it worked, oh, hi, Nikon, good job. And this is what I had. Let's see what I can do here. And I said, you know, I got to get some new lights. And so I got these new Luxli lights from B&H that I saw on sale a couple of weeks ago. I was like, wow, they're really neat because they allowed me to chit-chat a little bit until I get enough viewers here because they just went live about 60 seconds ago. And there's no point in giving all the good stuff when there's nobody watching it. Oh, we got 11 you guys. That's great. But I'm going to answer a few questions. I can see your questions live here. And then when we get enough viewers, maybe in a few minutes, then I will actually show you what I'm going to show you. The cool thing is I have these lights and I'm going to show them to you in about 20 minutes, but I can turn them on and I actually have I have my iBook, what is it called? Not my iBook, my iPad below my phone. So I'm actually turning the lights up or down, and I can even change the color temperature. This is the best thing about them. I can change the color continuously from warm to cool. A lot of lights will give you daylight or tungsten, but honestly, I want to just tweak them until I can get it about right back in the middle here. I think that looks good. You guys should tell me in the comments, because if I just go daylight, even though I am outdoors and mostly being lit by shade, I don't want to look that way, because then I'm too blue. But if I make them a little darker, it looks a little bit like that. So I'm wearing these glasses so I can see my iPhone. You can see the lights in the glasses. In fact, what should I do? You know, okay, we got 12 guys. Let me just talk. I should get some new lawn furniture. Too yellow. There you go. Anyway, I think I can see what I can see. In any case, I can answer your questions live if you put them in the comments. And then I'm going to show you some of the new lights that I just got from B&H. What really intrigues me about them is they're called Luxli lights. They're actually made in Norway. They're not rubbish, just offshored to China that we know we're going to throw away in a couple of years. Okay, I'm going to put on the glasses. My close-up lenses here. Okay, oh, wow, there's a bunch of comments. Let me get to these. Torino, Italy. I love Torino. I'm sure you saw I was over there for the summer program in 2002. Look at my website. I think it's kenrockwell.com/best, B-E-S-T lowercase. Hi from Denmark. Oh, I love you guys over there. You guys make the coolest stuff. Nikon says the Olympics for 2021, we will see release on a new Prospect mirrorless camera from Canon, Nikon, and Domi locked down in Dublin Island. Yes, we're all locked down. You know, we always see stuff for the Olympics. And that we do. And what we see, who knows? But the thing is, I can't shoot with something that's only, look at this lighting here. I can't shoot with something that's only a rumor. I can, sending people pictures that are just rumors doesn't count. Cameron says hi. Nikon says hi, Ken and Cameron. Hi from Panama. This is hilarious. I love YouTube. My website, it used to be half United States. Now it's down to about 40%. Well, not down to 40%, but the rest of the world is all watching. But this YouTube stuff is fun because people come from all over the world. Okay, Mishawaka, Indiana. This is great. The key is, let's see, oh yeah, hi from Toronto, eh? My brother went to U of T. This is great. Sunlight. The key to lighting is that our eyes can see a huge range from light to dark. And that's what stumps us, is because we think the camera can see that, which it can't. Now, if you're shooting it on an iPhone, which I am, it can do a little bit to correct, but it really can't. Hi from Charlottesville. Charlottesville, that's where Crutchfield is based. We've been using Crutchfield to order stuff for my family since the 1970s. I love those guys, and I'm so glad that I have them on my website now, too. Turn the lights off. See, this is what it would look like with no lights. You'll notice, oh, hi, Larry. Not only am I too dark, but the background is getting a little bit blown out. You bought your 780 there. Wow, Roy, thank you very much. Did you use my link? Did that help? Because the thing is, Crutchfield has always been known for car stereos. That's what they do best. That's what we were buying from them. Well, that's all they carried back in the 70s. But now they've expanded out to cover cameras as well, and they offer exceptional customer service, just like Adorama and B&H. It's the reason I got these lights from B&H. I've been shopping from all three of these guys since the 1970s, Adorama, B&H, and Crutchfield, and I love them. And I really have to love them because today there's so much junk out there. I mean, in terms of junk dealers, just come and go. Okay, Surrey, England, that X100F or X100V. You know, I own the V. The F. I love it. I tried the V. It's nice, but I'm thinking, would I pay money for this? It's like, it's the same camera. It has a couple of niceties on it. You can get a little bit higher in shutter speed with flash at large apertures, like a 4000 instead of a 2000. Read my entire review. Ultimately, if you have infinite amounts of money and you shoot it every day, by all means, get the V. But in my case, I do shoot it every day, and the cost doesn't matter to me. You know, it's all about fine point. If you're buying it new, by all means, go for the V and skip the older model F. If you already have the F, like I do, then it's kind of like, potato. Doesn't really matter. Turn my lights up a little bit. Said, this is Ken Rockwell. I'm live here. I've been on the air about 6 minutes. I've only got about 20 viewers, so I'm just waiting till we get enough guys. So I don't have to repeat everything. I'm going to cover a little bit about lighting. Thanks. Recent review of the 10 and 90D. Wow, Dennis, thank you, because I just published that yesterday afternoon. And I worked a lot on that. Hey, Rob, you're welcome. First one I bought. Does this virus change going forward for all aspects of photography, action, sports, portraits, weddings? And I can't ask. You know, I always get that question. How does this COVID-19 affect photography? Well, it doesn't affect photography in any way different than everything else going in our life. And it's always interesting because I've trade associations, they always try to take a personal spin on what is the effect to this aspect of the economy. You know, I think we all know what it is. The camera makers aren't going away. I have to really respect everybody off in the Orient. You know, they closed down as they needed to, but they got right back up and they're back to business. Well, maybe not entirely, but they're going to get through this. I mean, let's look at the tsunami that hit back in 2011, March, when Sendai, Japan, had this tsunami. Well, it had an earthquake, which led to a tsunami, which is a giant wave, which then washed over the nuclear power plant and then flooded the nuclear power plant, which means they didn't have their backup generators to run the pumps to help run the coolant. So they had essentially close to or maybe a real nuclear meltdown. The point is that's a major disaster on top of another disaster. It's one of these disasters, worst case, where one thing happens and another thing happens, and the engineers forgot to say, ooh, so what if they both happen at once, which is the way emergencies happen. The key is, within a year or two, they were back at full tilt. I mean, the thing was, too, Canon and Nikon both had plants right in Sendai. Hi from Vienna. Gosh, the land of Mozart, Vienna Opera House. I've snuck into the Vienna Opera House at halftime to see Mozart once when I was out visiting because I couldn't get tickets for the real show. Anyway, let's see, maybe this color temperature. You know, I'll have to admit, folks, I can barely see here because the lights are right in my face. Playing with color temperature. Where was I going? Oh, COVID-19. You know, it's going to affect us for weddings and portraits. The biggest thing is your iPhone. If you have an iPhone with facial recognition, you have a mask on, it doesn't recognize me. I'll bet you a nickel if I redid the recognition. Oh, thanks. You know, I'm going to ask you guys later, and I really get, you know, what happens is I go on air, and it takes about 20 minutes till everybody says, oh, Rockwell's on air, let's go watch him live. I can actually ask you guys. For instance, this is 10,000 Kelvin for my lights. This is 5,000. That's 3,000. And I think maybe around 4,500 looks good, or I don't know. Do I use back button focus? If not, why? No, I don't use back button focus. Why? Because I use the focus that just goes when I tip the finger. Admittedly, if it starts getting windy here, I'm going to have to bail because I didn't put sandbags of any of this gear. Hi from Turkey. I love this. I am all over the world. 5K. You like 5K? Good. 5K it is. Where was I going? So, facial recognition. As people pointed out, now you can use your thumb. If you have one of the less expensive iPhones, use your thumb to get in, you're good. But overall, I mean, getting to the events and all the other things we do, it's not going to be different about photography. You're going to be able to get a gear. Something I would suggest is, while everybody's been locked down, nobody's been buying new cameras. Just like everybody went out and bought toilet paper and bottled water and guns and ammunition as best as they could, right when things started to get locked down. Well, nobody's been buying cameras because we're all locked down and there's not much to do. As soon as people start getting out, which is starting to get real close, and everybody's going to buy their new cameras for their woohoo, we're out of jail vacations. And I predict that there might be, at least if the world all gets out of lockdown at about the same time, shortages, 5,600. This is great. And what I haven't covered is, I have 4 lights on me now. They're all being controlled via Bluetooth via my iPad Pro. And so I just have the iPad Pro app up and I can move the slider over and it's working all the lights. Okay, 5,000. This is like a joke. You guys are gonna make fun of me here, but here we go, 5,000. Here's 100%, here's 50%, here's 0%. And the key is, when the lights are off, you know, that is not a bad picture at all. But the thing is, I am too dark. When I turn the lights up, well, then I've got this. But also notice, the lights are up at 100% now. You've noticed the background has gotten darker, so it's not washed out. If I turn the lights off, you see I'm looking down at my iPad. Then the background, especially this area, can I do this? This area over here is getting washed out. Because what the camera does, did I pick up? No, Larry suggested an Oben model phone holder, which was metal. I'm using the Zuma, X-U-M-A phone holder I mentioned a while back that I got from B&H. I haven't tried the other one yet, which is metal. Just haven't got to it. It's one of those things that every time I order like these lights from B&H, I forgot to add the Oben phone holder to it. Do I use a wireless trigger for the flash? Absolutely. In my studio, I use studio strobes, 5Ks to yellow. Okay, let's turn the lights back on. Now notice how this is gonna dim a little bit. That dimmed a little bit, so now there's detail in that. Okay, you wanted, actually, I forgot what you asked for. Oh, 6,800 Kelvin. Hey, let's face it too, this is art. So everybody always has a different opinion. Whereas I'm going, oh, studio strobes. Yes, I use studio strobes. The difference is for video versus still shooting. Everything for still, I would never use continuous lights for still shooting because they're just not bright enough. And like right now, they're annoying to me because they're all shining in my face full time, but they have to because this is live video. For still photos, I use studio strobes. I use my Made in America Novatron strobes, which I don't think you can get anymore, but you sure can buy them used, which is how I got mine 20 years ago. They still work flawlessly to this day. And the remote trigger I use is simple. I just use any manual small throwaway flash, or you can use a pop-up flash on a consumer camera. I shoot using my Nikon D3. I think it's an SB30. It's a film era flash, which I set down to about 1/8 or 1/32 power. I have a simple Wine or W-E-I-N trigger, Vine trigger on my, not trigger, but remote sensor on my studio strobes, and that fires them whenever the flash in the camera goes off. I would never shoot, I guess when I first started, this is 20 years ago, I was shot since 50 years, when I first started studio strobes 20 years ago. Flanders, Belgium, fantastic. I would try to use corded strobes, corded control to the strobe power pack, but then the problem is somebody always trips over that cord because you've got people running around the studio and it's bad times. Let me go see, I have to apologize too because I am live and I am responding live to your comments, and if I don't get to something, then please feel free to send it again. And thank you guys so much for watching. I don't know how YouTube does it, but whenever I just decide to go on, you guys somehow find it, and I'm here. I guess that's the advantage of subscribing. Good to see me back on YouTube. Thank you. Cheers from Vienna. Love it. Z50, after watching my review, thanks for your guidance. I hope you love it. That was one of those cameras. It's so inexpensive, so light, so much fun to shoot, and the results look so good. I love it. Greetings from Turkey. 5,000K looks okay. Others look washed out. I don't know if, right now at 5,800, I don't know if it'll look washed out for exposure. 5,000, 5,600, 5,000. Wireless trigger, 5K to yellow, go higher. Greetings from Flanders. Okay. Here in Ireland, even their websites can't ship any products because they don't have any staff to ship anything due to government restrictions and camera shops supplied from the UK. Well, again, I'm not in the UK. I wouldn't buy from the UK. I do know all the guys I buy from, Amazon, B&H, Adorama, ship worldwide. And a couple of years ago, B&H was very proud of the fact that they had a landed cost calculator, which on their website would give you the actual price with your countries, well, not only shipping to your country, but all the taxes and internal tariffs and VATs and everything else. And not only would it let you forecast what it really is going to be, they guarantee that. So something screwy comes up, like FedEx comes back to you I've had this happen. I've ordered stuff from overseas here in the US, and maybe FedEx comes back later saying, oh, some paperwork, some foreign government wants me to pay them 35 cents. I think I was told they cover that, but that's what I would do. But again, as a native, I'm at least a third generation native New Yorker. I've been shopping B&H at Adorama since I was in junior high school in the 70s. So thank goodness I'm blessed that probably the best stores on earth are local. You guys can ask anything you want. It's not just about lighting, but as I said, I use strobes for still photography, and the reason for that is because strobes are super bright and they're instantaneous. I shoot all my product shots in my studio at about f22, and there's no problem with camera motion. I just bam, bam, bam. People say, gee, Ken, how do you do macro? Do macro with strobes or flash mounted on the lens of the camera. This way you have tons of light. You can shoot down at f32 real close, so you get some depth of field, thank goodness. You know, it's funny too, I have not even run all these lights that I just got at 100% for any length of time. I've had them at home, I play with them. This is the first time I've set them all up here, because it takes a while to set them up. They're all running at 100%. Hopefully we don't have any early failures, but I doubt it. Yes, I know, Mendel Mendelwitz of Adorama. I was lucky enough to have met him maybe 10 years ago, and it was awesome, just because I've been buying from those guys for so long. And what I love about all those guys is they really care about the customer. In New York, we used to have all kinds of nonsense camera stores who just try to rip you off, and some of the names are still around. I think it was 6th Avenue, or I forget some of the names of the great places. I think Willoughby's was another wonderful place, but they just couldn't compete. But they always took care of the customer. But watch out, because somebody bought the name, and they're still selling cameras, but it's not the old Willoughby's, so I can't recommend them. Again, the camera stores I recommend, it's because I've used them personally for so long. Okay, pops up. I'm reading the comments live. This is Ken Rockwell, and I'm answering your questions live here. And the way I get your questions is not by the phone, it's by you typing them into comments. And what do I think about variable ND filters, which is variable neutral density, or filters that just get darker? I've never used them. It's funny, in the old days with film, we had to use a lot of filters, because to do what I'm doing here with the lights, to make them warmer or cooler, we did with gel filters, which were simply... I lost my video. Am I back? I sure hope so. Anyway, let's get back to the regular lights here. Uh-oh. There we go. What was I saying? Back in the days of gel filters, it was a pain. So anyway, you want to use studio strobes or flash for still photography. For video, you want to use the kind of lights I'm talking about, which are continuous lighting. So ND filters are just for making things dark. They're for making long exposures. That's what I was saying. For film, we would always use a filter on the camera, filters over the lights, because you didn't have a white balance control. The coolest thing about digital was you have a white balance control where you can just change it without actually having to move anything or tape anything on the lens and get it to be the right size. So neutral density filters today are popular. I don't really know why. If you want to take pictures of the... It's funny, they used to be for taking pictures of large open spaces without anybody there, because people would all blur and go away if you made a minute-long exposure, say on 5th Avenue, Manhattan. Now, nobody can go there, but if you do, there's nobody out there, so you don't need those filters. But I haven't used that. A variable neutral density, I mean, if you want to fade to black, but we don't do that in editing now. So no, I'm not a fan of variable neutral density. I don't own one. I do use gradiated neutral density, which are gray on the top, clear on the bottom. And that is in very rare cases if I'm shooting in very, very unflattering, very difficult light. And the only time that happens is if I'm shooting into a sunset and I want some detail in the foreground and in the sunset. It'll darken the top of the image and let the bottom of the image get lighter, because you'll increase the overall exposure. And that'll let you get a better picture. But guess what? Even when I carry those filters, I'll go out and shoot for a week and never use them. It's a very easy filter to use wrong. Today, with digital, especially with iPhones, just shoot the picture pretty much the way it looks to our eye, which is something we've never had in the entire, almost 200 years of photography. We've never had that until we came up with digital the past 5 or 10 years. You know, what I recommend for videos, I'm going to cover here, the only thing that matters in video is your lighting. It's the most important technical thing by far. And, you're getting me started here, but we don't really, I'm waiting for a few more guys to show up. Give me a few more minutes, because I don't want to give this whole pitch. I'm going to take the lights out and show you what I got and how I adjust and stuff. But I don't have to do it again too many times, because it's a pain. Do I find with mirrorless cameras and being a glass wearer, my eyes get more tired compared to an optical viewfinder? No, not at all. Not really glassware. These glasses are just for close-up, to make it a little easier to see my little tiny screen here, because I'm over 25 years old now. Mirrorless versus SLR? Nah, I never wear glasses. I should say I don't wear glasses when I shoot. And if I did, I don't think that mirrorless versus DSLR would be any different. They all both have the same teeny little finders, the little adjusting dials on them. Yes, and I've got lockdown hair. Thank goodness I got a haircut right before the lockdown, but it's still been like, 2.5 months now since lockdown, so it is time for a haircut. But I'm not going out to get one. Okay, hey, Eric Thompson asks, he's tried to set up on my website for product photography. Any tips how to do a really small room? Want to have a dedicated studio without setting up and striking each time? Well, Eric, what I used to do before I had a dedicated room for my studio was, I had a dedicated closet. And I would set it up at the back of the closet and use that. I had, of course, a walk-in closet. I would set it up there. And it was really sad because, well, I guess as my website grew and I became more famous and it became more and more important, I realized it was finally time to, like, it deserved a dedicated spot. But the problem is the umbrellas have to go off to the side of, umbrellas are like 3 feet in diameter, and they have to go off to the side. You have to have enough space between them so you can shoot. So you really do need about 6 to 10 feet of width, which I didn't have. So I would actually make space in between the clothing rails. I had clothing rails on both sides of the closet. I pull the clothes off so that the umbrellas could go off into where clothes normally would be to get far enough apart. That's the key. I don't know if you can really have lights that pull down. I know a friend of mine had a dedicated studio in his garage. The lighting was all mounted on his ceiling and along the sides, and you pull his car into the middle, leaving the lighting all set up. But the best thing ever is have a dedicated studio, because I use mine every day. I go in there, I shoot what I need to, and I'm done. If I had to set up lighting every time, it just wouldn't happen, and that would be bad. Okay, I'm getting to your comments. I have to apologize. I'm a little behind here on the comments. And I say camera is concerned about the weight of full frame. I shoot a little of everything, a little more landscape. You know, you got me. I'm not sure what you mean by weight of full frame. I don't shoot Fujis for landscapes. Well, I do sometimes because I'll shoot anything for a laugh, but I don't like the color rendition. It's rather dull. It's not vivid. I'll prefer Nikon or Canon, and that's it. Sony is inferior. Fuji is really bad for shooting landscapes. As far as I'm concerned, I'm shooting JPEGs. I want the JPEGs to look awesome right out of the camera. And for that, Fuji cameras are optimized for people pictures, so I don't use it for that. So by all means, I'd say ditch Fuji. I don't know whoever taught anybody to use Fuji for landscapes. I wouldn't. I say, well, I do, but not like I'd recommend it. Okay, Mr. W says, I need ND filters for the right shutter speed in video during daylight. Oh, that's right. I forgot, shutter angles. Now, I always call it shutter angle. You want to shoot movies with a 180-degree shutter angle, which is in your in your Panavision or Ariflex camera. There's this rotating thing that spins around. You guys probably don't even care because you're probably not shooting real film. You guys who call yourself filmmakers shooting digital. But in any case, at 24 frames per second, yes, 1/48th of a second is the proper exposure. So the things that move actually have the correct blur, the blur we've all been used to. And the problem is with electronic cameras today, yes, they shoot at like 1,000th of a second in daylight, which is what this is doing. That's not natural motion. Thank you for pointing that out because I forgot, because I said I'm not really a video shooter. I'm a very good still shooter, but absolutely, in video, you want the longer shutter speeds, so you want to use a neutral density filter, so you're shooting at about a 48th of a second. So what you'd wind up doing is, the reason you would want to a variable neutral density filter, is you want to always lock your shutter speed at a 48th, unless you're under cranking or over cranking. Then you want to choose your aperture to get the correct look. And then the last thing you said is you set the variable neutral density to get the correct exposure at your set shutter speed. In fact, that's a really sad thing today. Nobody knows about shutter angles anymore. And you get all these amateurs shooting video, and it looks all strobe. This is a special effect now. This is called strobing, as I recall, in motion picture work. You use that if you want to make things extra tense. How do I change this up? If you want to increase the tension, make things sound a little, make people uneasy, you've got the sound of strings going, no, I can't do that. But in any case, it's not a natural look. And so, yes, you want to keep those shutter speeds down to get a natural blur. And the reason you want the natural blur is, yes, it's the way Hollywood has done it for over 100 years, but it's the way our eyes see. Our eyes naturally see with a shutter speed vaguely equivalent to about a 30th or 50th of a second. And by that, it's a relatively Gaussian distribution for the shutter, so it's not a rectangular distribution like a camera shutter. But the key is, when you see things moving in real life, they look blurred if they go too fast, right? That's because your eye perceives things at about that kind of a shutter speed. So by using that shutter speed, when you're shooting video or motion pictures, you get what looks natural. So things that are moving too fast get blurry, just like they look to our eyes. And that's why you want a variable neutral density filter, and I thank Mr. W for reminding me about that. Yes, thank you, Mr. W. Okay, Edward Meyer says, it looks so refreshing when you take a swig. What is that container? Ha ha! I was afraid you'd ask. I was going to put up a stuff about bike gear on my website, but I resisted the temptation because I figured you guys would be. This is a French-made Z50 insulated water bottle, and I love this because in hot weather, it's 700 milliliters or 24 ounces. When I go out bicycling for hours and it's hot out, I fill the thing with ice and Gatorade, and I can go for hours, and it stays cold. I love it. I've got, not root beer, what have I got? I've got iced tea in here and ice. This is gonna last a long time. And I got it off Amazon, for whatever that's worth. Which sensors do I use exposure bracketing? Oh, which scenarios? I'm sorry. I'm trying to read the screen far away. I never use exposure bracketing, especially with digital today. You can always check it on the back of the screen, so I don't. Ansel Adams had a problem with exposure. Well, Ansel Adams didn't believe in exposure bracketing either. Ansel Adams said, look, you know, if you can't even get your exposure right, what's going to happen is you're going to have this once-in-a-lifetime thing, like think Moonrise over Hernandez. You know, once-in-a-lifetime thing's going to happen. It's going to make your career. And you're going to shoot it bracketed, and the overexposed bracket is going to be the right one. So you've lost your shot. So especially with digital, we can just look. I've never used exposure bracketing. If I did HDR, I might, but HDR, we no longer have to do manual HDR. If I want HDR, I usually shoot it on my iPhone, which guess what? My iPhone does it automatically. Even for this video, it does it automatically, so I don't have to think about it. Almira says, thank you for my reviews. It's really helpful. Thank you. That's why I've been writing for over 20 years now. Well, actually, no, I started writing my website 20 years ago in 1999, just so I could find stuff again. When I researched something, I wrote it down once so I could find it, but the rest of the world found it pretty helpful. So there we go. And I guess today, and probably for probably 20 years now, I've been the world's most popular one-man website. See, I'm trying to zoom this in. I don't know what looks good for you guys or not, but I'm shooting this all live on my iPhone, which has a relatively wide picture. Okay, Patrick Rosenbaum says he wants to compliment me on how clean and well-lit my cameras and lenses are in my photos, in my reviews. They are the best. You are the best, thank you. Admittedly, I've been shooting stuff in my studio now for what? Yeah, 20 years since I bought my strobes from my friend Steve. Sumner 2015, hi. And the key is like any art form. I've done it for so long, and it's not just the way it's shot. Then I go in Photoshop and take quite a while fine-tuning every camera image to look just the way I want it to look, so it's as clear as possible. So thank you very much. Okay. Gordon says, most bird photos shot at f7 or above. Why do people still use f4 lenses? You know, I wouldn't say most bird photos shot at f7. It's simple. Sure, f5.6 lenses are good enough. For bird photos, you want to use the shortest. Well, you want to use an exposure maybe 1,000th or 2,000th. Again, talk to my bird photographer friends. You always want to shoot everything at ISO 100. If you start shooting everything at 200 or 400 or 800, you lose sharpness. Most people don't realize that. And too many people, I should say, every time somebody sends me something saying, hey, Ken, my camera's defective, my lens is defective, it's not sharp, what do I do? They've always shot it at some high, believe me, ISO 800 or 1600 are high ISOs. They'll shoot at these high ISOs in broad daylight, and then they'll shoot it down to like f22, which is all squinty, and the diffraction softens the images beyond what the high ISO has done to it. And then they'll shoot it like, you know, because they're at those settings, like 5,000th of a second shutter speed or something, it's not moving. So for birds, the reason we shoot f4, even f2.8 lenses is so we can shoot it at ultra high shutter, well, a fast shutter speed. For shooting any kind of action, I'll shoot the lens wide open, shoot at the ISO 100, and then whenever shutter speed comes by, and hopefully I'll usually have enough shutter speeds, but that's what I'll do. And the reason for those fast lenses is you can put a teleconverter on them and still have enough left over to give you the shutter speed you need, but you always want to shoot at ISO 100 if you possibly can, because things are. And one of the ways you can allow yourself to shoot at ISO 100 is to make sure you've got a nice, fast, expensive zoom or a fast, expensive lens. Ron says, good to see me online live. Well, thank you. This is fun. And I worked in high school in television, and you know, it was always somebody else's show. Hey, I'm gonna make the lights bluer because I think my teeth are looking really yellow, which they shouldn't be. Let's have my own show now where I can do whatever I want. This is so much fun. Gerald asks, how does a Nikon, oh, by the way, those of you who just joined us, this is a live broadcast ostensibly about lighting for video because I have my lights on here. You see my lights are on and you can see them in my glasses, which is bad. And that's with them off. See the big difference it makes? Not only my face being too dark, but the background being washed out. Once I turn the lights up, the exposure from the camera can even drop and bring detail to that. I'm gonna get to that. I think I'm gonna get to that pretty soon. I just wanted to make sure we had enough viewers here so I could tell you about my lights. And I can certainly answer any and all questions you guys have, which you can put in the questions section, in the comments section. Gerald asks, how does a Nikon 35 1.8 DX perform on the Z50 with the adapter? You know, I'll admit I never tried it compared to using, the lens works well, but the Z50 is a beautiful little tiny camera. And here's the key. You can't fool me because it just came out, which means anybody who's getting one has the option of getting just the Z50 body or the Z50 with the 16-50 zoom lens, which I love. It's this little tiny plastic pancake lens. It's ultra sharp, focuses ultra fast. And I can't say enough good about that lens. The point was, considering Nikon gives you a good deal and almost gives that lens away for free when you buy a Z50, if you just check that box in on the options, That's why I have never tried the other lenses. Likewise, the 50 to 250 Z zoom that comes as part of a kit with the Z50, nearly for free. I think it's like $1,200 for the camera and the two lenses. That's the only lenses I would use with my Z50. In fact, it is the only lenses I use with my Z50. I think you lose the beauty of the Z50 once you get that awful FTZ adapter. The reason I say it's awful is if you're an old timer like me who has every lens Nikon's ever made, most of them don't focus on the Z50, the FTZ. So it's just the attitude of it I don't like. So again, I wouldn't adapt anything to the Z50 because then it's becoming clumsy and wasting the whole point of this beautiful little camera. Okay. Oh, I have a lot of questions. Okay. Again, Ken Rockwell Live. I'm looking at your questions here in the comments section. Okay, thanks a lot. Umbrellas are huge, even for single car garage. Yeah, umbrellas are. But here's another tip. The closer you get to the subject, the smaller the umbrellas can be and have the same effect as being larger and further away. So if you're photographing small things, think closer and maybe even smaller umbrellas. If you're photographing people, then you probably want to be further away, or groups of people. Another question here from Falverson says, do I think Tamron, Tokina, or Sigma will ever make Z-mount lenses? Oh, absolutely. As Z gets popular and takes off, those third-party off-brands are going to make lenses for everything. Well, okay, it's not America, but the point is it's a free world. So yes, people are going to make things that people want to buy. And that's a beautiful thing about the free economy. If you want to buy it, they're going to make it. Oh, Scotland. I've been to Ayr, Scotland. My great-great-great-great-grandfather back in like the I forget how many grades, but 1840 to 1860, pro photographer in Ayr. And back then, he was trying to make his own plates because you couldn't buy film because it hadn't been invented yet. D500 for landscape, absolutely. D850 would be better, but so what? You know, I use my iPhone for landscape. Some of my favorite pictures are shot on the same iPhone. I'm making this video, and it looks great, especially, too, because I can play with it all. And it looks fantastic once I've edited it too much and made the colors unnatural, which I love. Christopher Smoot says he does nothing regarding his cameras. Salt. Cameras and salt. I'm sure there's a typo without consulting me. Thank you very much. Okay. Benjamin Ashler says he bought an X100F over the X100F over the V. Agree it's better buy because better ergonomics and bang for the buck. It is. If you can get a discount on the 100F, Fuji cameras are really high quality. They're made in Japan, and I'm not sure to the third world or communist countries, so they're very rarely discounted. So if you can get a discount on the X100F over the V, yeah, it's 99% the same camera. So if dollars matter, by all means, the older F is the one to get. Nikon says, so I think with the Nikon 200 F2 being discounted, they're being not made anymore, or new 200 F mount, Z mount. I don't know. 200 F2s are always less popular than 300 2.8s because they're just kind of sillier. Honestly, I haven't looked at that. And always, if Nikon discontinues the lens, it's usually because there's another one coming or because nobody buys them anymore because there's so many available used. I buy a lot. Heck, my entire life, I bought most of my stuff used if I can. New digital cameras, no. And the state-of-the-art lenses that come out, no. But anything that's been out for a while, like a 200 F2, I would get that used. There's very little difference between them. The original manual focus lenses were great. They still have incredible bokeh, which is why they sell for such high prices, the manual focus 200 F2. But all the autofocus models have been incredibly good, and the differences are really minor between versions, so I don't know if there's that many people buying the new ones. But somebody has to buy the new ones, so cheapskates like me can get them used in a few years. What's my opinion on the low 1.0 ISO versus base IO in the ZS6? I shoot a lot at ISO 50 on the Z6. So long as you don't have really harsh lighting where the highlights are likely to get blown out, it's actually sharper. Look at my review for the Z6 and the Z7, where I actually have comparison shot at every ISO. You see it's actually a tad sharper. And as a lifelong film shooter who used to shoot ISO 25 Kodachrome and 50 speed Velvia, to me ISO 50 is just the way we're supposed to be shooting daylight. At 250 at f8, you know, or usually around 200 at f7.1 in daylight. That's what you shoot at ISO 50. So yeah, I'd say try it out. Hi, Ken. He purchased his Minolta FL9 almost 10 years ago. We talked briefly over the phone. What a great guy to deal with. We are glad to see you on YouTube. Well, thank you for watching. You guys make it all worthwhile. Okay. Edwin says he'd just like to say that he respects my knowledge and opinions. Glad to be here. Thanks for everything. Thank you, Edwin. And again, my apologies. I'm going to get to... I can almost do that because the comments are almost to the end. We have an audience now. Okay. Fastest talker ever. Talk about a second career as an auctioneer. Maybe, but here's what I'm trying to do. I went on the air a little while ago, ostensibly to talk about lighting, but I didn't really want to get into it because, you know, when I first go on, there's nobody watching. Okay, when I first went on the instant, I went on, 10 of you guys were here, but now we have a much better collection, so it'll be rising for the next hour or so, but I think I should get to talk about lighting. So here we go. I'm Ken Rockwell with KenRockwell.com. I'm going to talk a little bit about video lighting Any questions you have, you can put in the comments, but I'm going to be a little behind because I'm going to stop looking at the comments and start looking at the lighting. And I should say, I kind of got excited to do this little video because I saw there was a sale at B&H a couple of weeks ago for these digital LED lights that magically could synthesize everything from live flames to the effects that a TV would have shining at you for making motion pictures where, you know, someone's watching TV and the light's shining on the wall. It can simulate all this. You can control with an app the color of the lights. So let's see, how am I going to show you these lights? Let's see, what if I turn off the big light? Let's see if I can blow something up here. I'm turning off the big one. I should say they're made by Luxli, L-U-X-L-I. I believe I have a link to them in the description of this video where you can click and go see them all at B&H. They come in at least 4 or 5 different sizes. You kind of buy them by the square foot. The lights all do the same thing. They all have the same quality of light. They all have the same controls. The difference is, of course, they all can be controlled by your app, but I love the fact that I can just control them around the back. They have 2 knobs. They all do the same thing. They all have 2 knobs. The smaller one has a smaller screen, but let's see if I turn off the big light. There we go. Oh gosh, now is this thing going to be too hot to handle? No, I don't think so. Tell you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to pull the big light off. I'm going to show you what it does. The smaller lights do the same thing, have the same quality of light. The key is, what really intrigued me was these lights are made in Norway. They're not rubbish from China that I know is going to fall apart in 2 years. I have a hard time buying electronics in China, or say investing in anything from China, made in China, or also where things are made. I mean, gosh, Nikon and every other second and third rate maker of cameras. Well, I shouldn't say that. Number one is Canon. Canon has been the largest seller of the world's largest maker of cameras. Canon sells more cameras than anybody and has so for the past 20 years continuously. Canon is a great company. They make almost everything in Japan. The 90D I just reviewed, mid-price camera. Japan like it should. They don't cheap out, make it in the third world. There's some comment about that. And that's why, among other reasons, Canon is number 1. Number 2 company in sales is either Sony or Nikon, depending on whose numbers, how they've tweaked the numbers you read. And the number 2 and 3 companies, Sony and Nikon, their stuff's all exported to like China, Thailand, other places. You know, it's not done domestically in Japan, where I think they really cared about quality, they would make it. Any case, here's the largest of these lights. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn the other lights off so you can see the LCD on the back of this light. This light is called the Timpani. It used to sell for about $1,000. You see it's on sale now for $850. Pardon my lockdown haircut. This is a 1 foot by 1 foot, about 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter panel. It's got 5 different colors of LEDs. It is warm white and cool white for just doing the 2,000 to 3,000 to 5,000 or 7,000 Kelvin. It's also got red, green, and blue LEDs for a total of 5 different colors, so it can make any color you can imagine. Like all the Luxli lights, it either runs on a battery or runs on shore power. This particular one, the 12 by 12 inch model called the Timpani, you can supply your own battery pack, which is a V-mount battery pack, and then goes to this 4-pin XLR into there to the power supply, and it comes with, for shore power, or whatever you want to call it, wall power, it comes with an AC adapter, which is how I have it running here. This light, like all the lights, yeah, here we go. And it's funny, it's reversed here. What I like is one quick tap turns it on or turns it off. You don't have to hold it like an idiot, like everything else that comes from, I don't know, China. Less time wasted. This one takes just a moment to go, boom, there we go. It's got 2 knobs. I love this. You can just tap the knob, and it toggles between on at the level you set and off. And this button, if you just tap it, it toggles between 56 and 3200 Kelvin for super fast setup. And if you turn it, you get whatever color temperature you want, which for me is wonderful because when I set up some lighting, oh my gosh, there I am, video feedback. When I set up some lighting, I can just fine tune it. It's not like the old days when I have to say, quarter CTO or, eighth CTB and get it to look just right. I just turn this knob and it's like, it's like my digital cameras where I can just do that for white balance. Likewise for intensity, no big deal. Turn this, you set it. These rotating knobs are super smart. They have little electronic gear shifts is what I call it. If you turn them slowly, it goes percent by percent. And if you just flick them, it goes real fast up and down. And that is the key to everything. I don't know about you guys, but I shouldn't say hate, that's a strong word. I dislike it when some crappy electronics have like up and down buttons. Do I want to hit an up and down button to adjust my color or adjust my brightness? No, I want to turn the knob. Just make it do what I want it to do. Now this one has the largest LCD, the tympani. You can see the incoming voltage, and you can see many other things. There's many other features here, but I think I'll show you them through the app. What should I do here? Oh gosh, here's all the lights. Again, this is the large light, and it also comes in a 2 by 1 foot size. Uh-oh, getting some wind here. You can make any color you want. It's not a touchscreen, or is it? I don't think it's a touchscreen. No, it's not. But you can change that through your app. Maybe you can even change that through your knobs. Oh my gosh. Yes, I can. And I bet you if I hit this again, I can't see what I'm doing here because I'm holding it up to my camera and I'm seeing it reflected back in my iPhone backwards. This is another nifty feature that I love. You can select, instead of like the old days, which is still done today, you know, if you're using tungsten or gel is a fancy word for gelatin, which is just another word for a plastic sheet, a colored plastic sheet. Gel filters itself for like $5 or $10 a piece, like 2 by 2 foot diameter, 2 by 2 foot square. You cut them, you put them over your lights. Now you'd have to, in the old days, until today, you'd have a swatch book with like 150 different colors. You see the colors going through here? This one, you don't have to use the swatch book and go out and buy gels. You just tune in here, whatever gel you want. And the cool thing is, remember how I showed you how you could choose your color temperature very precisely? You can go back in and choose your color temperature and then choose the gel you want to put over. So if you want to say put 4750 Kelvin and then put a gel on top of that, just like doing that on a regular light, you just dial it in and then go to the other one. Now for some of the other remote control things like flames or whatnot, that's a little tougher to do on the light. I find it's easier to do that on the app. Honestly, I've never had a real use to do simulated flames or those other things in the app. All I want to do is control the color temperature and control the brightness. So I'm going to put this light back on its mount and then pull the next smallest one off. Say this 1 by 1 foot tympani is a big light. It's intended for running on AC power because it comes with an AC adapter. You certainly can supply the battery packs and chargers on your own to run it on DC. Excuse me while I'm off camera because I'm plugging it back into the stand. And again, I'm doing this all for fun here in my backyard. It took a while to figure out how I was going to show the lights as well as light myself with them at the same time. It looks like I figured that out, which is good. I'm just hooking it back on its stand. Ah, there we go, and it's back up. The next light, what should I show? Okay, the next size light, which one can I get off here? Ah, let me get its battery. Oh, its battery's right here. This light, I've been operating on DC power. This is called a cello. Notice they're named against musical instruments. And again, I love the fact, one click and it's on. I don't have to hold it. Just tap it, it's on, tap it, it's on. This is a smaller LCD panel. And again, it's the same control system. Just tap this. It goes between the two main settings for color temperature. Turn it for precise setting. Should I turn on? Yeah, here we go. Now it's on. Oh, that doesn't look good. And you see, I can control it through every possible color temperature. Now it has all the features of the big lights. You just press the small red button to cycle between its different options. Again, we can go through the entire book of gel filters. And here's your brightness. In fact, here it is on my forehead. It sure beats having to go pull something out of stock, cut it out, stick it on my light. Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't see that. Actually, what this is doing, all lights do this, it can control any hue and any saturation you want. So you can make any color of light by hue and saturation. That's this one. This one is, again, where you control, it's on the Lee color book, Lee filter book, to make any color you want. I should say any of the Lee filters, any of the 150 Lee colors. And then we're back. There's a lot of little fancy features here. I find if we get to these goofy features like the flame setting and the candlelight setting, which actually flickers for you, it's probably easier to do. It is easier to do on the app, and I'll show you how we do that. This is probably my favorite little light because it's small. It's bright enough. It's super easy to use and just fun. In fact, these little lights are small enough that they're flat. So I just stick them in my usual bag right next to each other. I take 3 or 4 of these lights and stick them with the little dividers, those little foam dividers, and they're good. I would advise, I have been very careful about these knobs, not to break them off. I haven't had any problems, but I wouldn't want to hit them the wrong way. Now, the way these come, this is a 12-volt DC adapter. It's rated to work from 7 to 15 volts. You can provide your own AC to DC adapters. In my case, these are the ones that came up my hard drives. Pretty much anything consumer electronics typically has a 12-volt center positive AC adapter, so you probably don't even need to buy ones for these, but they don't come with them. I said the large one, the Timpani, came with its big AC adapter. These small lights are intended to be more portable, and they actually come with a battery and a charger. They come with this imitation Sony NP F750 battery. It's not really Sony, it's generic. I think the battery comes from, the battery doesn't say, but I'll bet you the batteries and chargers probably do come from China. That pops on there like that. Again, it comes with, for the price you pay, which is I think only a couple of $100 for these small ones. I forget, they're on sale now. You make any color you want. Ha ha ha! Brightness you want. And it's all from there. Here's a little charger comes with, and each comes with its own charger, and they're nice little chargers. They're not fancy, but they do have a flip folding plug, so I can just put them in my bag along with the lights and the batteries, and I am all set. To show you what's on them, here's a tripod socket, so you can mount them, say, above your iPhone. DC adapter. There's a USB socket. I don't know what that's for, probably for changing firmware, although it looks like you probably could do it on the app. Really, what I love the best about these lights is I just grab and go. I finally figured out how to use the app just so I could show you guys on this video. But honestly, for me to use them, tap it, turn it on. Well, it takes a moment to turn on. Boom. And we've got lights. Yeah, look at that. 3200, 5600. And I can turn it for any color I want. And I'm going to put this back on its stand. See, I guess I'm going to take the battery out and battery in. Maybe it'll blow up when I plug it into DC power. They say by DC power, I mean it's DC power that's going to the light, but it's being fed from my power adapter. Not my power adapter, it's being fed from my $2 power strip. And all these lights are very low powered. They draw, by that I mean they draw very little power. It's not like tungsten lights that draw hundreds of thousands of watts and, a 20 kilowatt Fresnel or whatnot. No, the largest light, the Timpani, is rated 120 watt maximum, but honestly, when I measured it, I think it draws no more than about 85 watts at full tilt. This light, the one I just showed you, the cello, I think is rated for 32 watts maximum. I think it drew 28 watt maximum from the wall when set up as I set it up through my particular AC charger. Now let's see, how do I get these guys all back on? There we go. Let's see if I get them all synchronized. Yeah, oh wow, this app works really well. And the app was super easy to set up. I pretty much just fired up the app from the App Store, pressed the button that said look for lights, and boom, my lights are there, and I just tapped yes, yes, yes. I said always connect. There we go. Now the smallest light is really cute. Although I think, well, you get whichever you want. It's less expensive. It's about half the output and not half the price. This is called, let's see, I guess I'm going to turn it off. There we go. This is called a Viola. It's about 5 inches across. Let's see, what color temperature would you like? There we go. It's called the Viola. It's about 5 inches across. Again, it has all the same controls. It has the same 2 dials, again, which you can tap to alternate between settings, or you can turn to smoothly change settings. And it's got the same 2 buttons as the other guys do. One button is power. Here I am. It's on me. Look at that. Hey, this little light, I'm impressed. Oh, because I'm holding it so it's blocking the light from the big Timpani panel. There we go. It's full up. There's full up from this little light. This little light also comes with a charger and this littler battery, which is an imitation. Let's see, it is a NP F530, which is, you can actually swap these batteries, the bigger ones and the smaller ones go in the same place. So if you've already got those batteries, you're good to go. And even if you don't, again, it comes with it when you buy the light. But here we go. You can tap this to go between 3200 and 5600. The LCD panel, well, actually, this is an OLED panel. This is a really nice thing. Notice it's daylight out here. I can still see what that panel says. And although it's reversed, the way I'm looking at it in my camera monitor, Yeah, it goes between 5600 and 3200, and then you can change it. What's really nice is they've really thought this out. Notice how it's cute, those little icons are moving, but I don't care. I just look at the light on my subjects in real time. Here we go, let's turn it on. Here we go. Cooler, warmer. And just set it till it looks good. Likewise for intensity. And you can alternate between that. It's got all the features on this little light as the other ones do. It's a little more difficult to get to them because you don't have as big a screen here seeing what you're doing because the light's small. I couldn't fit the larger one in. Here we can make it any color we want. Let's see, what are you doing here? Yeah, this is the hue in degrees. And here, what are we? These. What was really impressive is, I think this is, let me take a look here. Yeah, I don't know if you can read this, but I can read it when I look at the light. I don't think my iPhone's focusing well. 150 colors of the Lee swatch book for gels are all in this one little light without even needing the app. And there we go. Again, this little light has apparently all the features of the big light and will do all the crazy things like simulating fireworks or police, red, yellow, and blue lights, red and blue, white lights flashing and so forth through the app. It's just a little easier with this one to do it through the app than try to do it with the few buttons that are on it. I'm going to put this one back. Well, actually, I didn't even have this one on a stand. I just had it sitting on the ground. Oh, give you a look though. Tripod socket, DC input, USB input. And I think these are all now talking to my app. Yeah, there we go. And oh, when we're talking about lighting, the reason we even need lighting is, as I mentioned this a while ago when I started and we didn't have a lot of people watching, is that our eyes are far more able to handle large variations between light. You know, you can easily see them, but when you're making a motion picture, your eyes, the cameras don't see it. It's not that the cameras don't see, but the whole system doesn't see the differences as well in the dark. And I should say that the system is entirely too high in contrast. To get pictures that don't look boring and flat, the contrasts are increased. It's called gamma correction. And by increasing those contrasts, we have to keep the lighting ratios very narrow. We can't have, increase this brightness here. There we go. We can't have too much of a difference between light and dark when we're making a motion picture because the shadows get entirely too dark. And one of the best ways to see an amateur production shot on some DSLR, and it's funny, Netflix will show this garbage sometimes because they, shame on me, but anyway, I hate it when I'm watching a film, I go, it's probably shot on a DSLR because the focus is wandering all over the place, the lighting is awful. Yeah, it's not that it was shot on a DSLR, but people don't do their lighting well. And the reason why a Hollywood movie looks like it was shot in Hollywood is because they had 6 trucks of lighting and generators and guys setting it up, and they spend days just getting the lighting and all the gobos and scrims and reflectors set up so it looks like there was no lighting at all used. And the reason for that is it has to be much lower contrast. The shadows and highlights have to be much closer together. And so what we do is we put screens called scrims over the between the direct sunlight, like where the sunlight's shining, or over somebody's head to darken that, to make it less bright. And then we use reflectors typically below someone or lights. Now, admittedly, even when I was 11 years old, if you look at the kenrockwell.com website, look at one of the older About pages, I have a picture of myself I took back when I was 11 years old. And when I was 11 years old, shooting on Kodachrome 25, even back then I knew, I had a piece of 8.5 by 11 white paper under my face to lighten the shadows so that when the direct sun was on top and the shadows below, it didn't look so bad. Today for video, we can use these sort of lights I've shown. And the reason we have to use lights is we need the lights to lower the lighting ratio between the highlights and the shadows so that things look more natural after they're photographed. If you've ever been to a TV studio and look at the sets, you'll discover things look really, really flat. And that's deliberate because the television cameras increase the contrast. And that way the picture at home looks great. But when you're actually in the studio, it looks really, really flat. You might be tempted to say, we should make it look better. By making it more contrasty? No, in fact, that's something probably people do get in trouble with. It's a lot of the lower budget productions I see. It's really sad. People are inside an office or something, and it looks like people have no lights on in the office because they don't. Because people got lazy with the lighting. The cameras are so good today, they capture it like it looks, but really, you got to throw a lot of light at stuff. Now, right now, I'm even throwing an awful lot of light at me. I have the timpani over here, which is about 5,000, I guess it's 5,000, about 5,000 lux or about 5,000 lumens. 2 cello, which are each about 1,500 lumens, and the little guy there is about 800 lumens. So there's a lot of light coming at me. It's still not maybe as much as I'd like. You can never have too much light. Well, you can, but I'm just saying in this case, when I'm trying to compete with the outdoors, you can never have much. Let's see if I can show you the app. How does this look? Can you see this? You know, this looks awful. Because you can see, here's my lighting. There's a timpani, cello, viola down there. Okay, you'll have to take my word for it. What I'll do is show you what the app can do. I was impressed. I'm a picky customer. I expect stuff to just work. And the little app for it's called is it called Composer? It's called the Luxli. It's not marked here, but just go to the App Store. At least I'm on Apple. Go to the App Store, look for Luxli, Luxli, and there you go. And again, I'm Ken Rockwell. I'm talking about some new Luxli lights I just got that I'm kind of excited about because they're 5-color LEDs. They have RGB, so they can make any color you can imagine. And they also have a complete collection of warm white and cool white LEDs, so they can make any color temperature you want between about 3,000 and 10,000 as a continuous adjustment in 50 Kelvin steps, as well as adjust the brightness. And I'm using the app now to control all 4 of these lights together at the same time. So I can control, again, their brightness. I've showed you this. But now that I'm actually talking about it, you'll notice now with no light, backgrounds are completely blown out, my face is dark. Typical crummy video. Personally, I wouldn't want to be sitting out here in the sunlight. I'm under an umbrella. If I was shooting it, I don't have any, maybe you didn't know that. I'm one guy shooting this on my iPhone. I don't have it to be a little easy here. If I was shooting it for real, I'd have somebody standing above me with a scrim. In other words, basically cheesecloth or something, or just cloth that would just cut down the direct sunlight on my head and still be a big, white, soft source of light. And then other people would be, well, it wouldn't be below me necessarily, but they'd be sitting around with these rough silver reflectors and it's shining light in my face. Maybe they'd have a gold reflector or a white reflector to make it look just light. But what's nice about these lights is that I can adjust them continuously from one to the other. What I'm doing here is the app, for instance, lets me control the mixture of the different lights. There's nothing that I can't see that it doesn't do, which is good. I can control all lights in unison, which is what I'm doing here, and I can control lights individually. I think I mentioned I can control these. Now I can ask you guys, this is at 3,000 Kelvin, and that's at 10,000 Kelvin, and I can adjust it as I like. And I see there's some questions coming in here. I will ask and answer all your questions, but let me chit chat about the lights now. Let me show you some of these other features here. Let's talk. Okay, here are how I can get, this is the HSL, a hue, saturation, and lightness control, where on my screen, I have a picture of a rainbow that's saturated at the top and not saturated at the bottom. Here's 100% saturation. I can make any color I want, or I can go down to just plain white, or anything in between to make any color I want. I can control RGB separately. I mentioned before about the gels. On the app now, it has a picture of every possible gel, so I can just touch blue, green, red. Again, pretty much the 150 main Lee color filters are just there. And they are added on top of however you have the light set. If you have 3,200 Kelvin set, and at a CTO, it'll get warmer than 3,200. Or you could set 10,000 Kelvin, and in fact, I can do that right from the app here. Boom, there's 10,000 Kelvin, and there's 3/4 CTB. I can do all this. Effects are fun. Now, these are more fun effects. I don't know that I would ever actually use them. Whoa, this is fun. All the lights are doing. I now have it set for campfire effect. Can you see that? Oh, what's beautiful is, I was going to suggest this, but it looks like what it's actually doing is different lights are working differently, and so you're getting a more of a randomized. Let's see if I look at my glasses here. This is a beautiful thing. You're getting more random. And you have a couple of choices. Here's a candle. You control how much wind. Let's go to storm. So it'll be really pretty crazy. So if I exaggerate the effects, you can see it. And here's a campfire. You liked, oh, Patrick says the campfire effect's pretty convincing. Now this is fun. And the app is free, of course, like apps should be. Campfire effect, bonfire. Admittedly, I want my house to be like a man cave. Like a cave, I mean, I'm talking boulders on the wall with like fern grottos and waterfalls and all that kind of stuff, and like animal skins on the wall, and set this stuff up to be a fire. What's nice is because you control it on Bluetooth, you can leave these lights on all around the house and just wake up and just control from your phone, Bluetooth, and turn it to campfire or whatever you want. This is the bonfire effect. And I set the wind to storm, so it activates, I should say, so it over-exaggerates it. I can also set, what, to no wind. Here you go, here's a bonfire and no wind. Let's see, campfire in a breeze. That's fun. Fireworks, here we go, here's some fireworks. Let's see what happens. In the app, you have to press the play button for the effects to play. Oh, wow. See, we've got different colors of fireworks. Now, the reason you use this was you're not going to see fireworks in the lights. It's if you're making a film where people are watching fireworks, you cut the fireworks, okay, great. Then you cut back to the actors, and you want the lighting effect of the firework on the actor. I love this. I didn't even know this would happen, but I've got 4 lights in me. They're all doing different colors. Hello from down under, Reel. This is fun. Lightning effects. Let's see what that does. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to hit play. Once I've selected lightning, oh, wow. This is fun. This is all free. I mean, I got these lights because I just wanted to have continuous adjustment of color, temperature, and of intensity, and those simple dials, which I love. This is fun stuff. Use it as you want to. The point is it saves you potentially a lot of trouble on a production. If you want to simulate these things, you've already got the lights to do it. Let's see, here's the paparazzi effect. This probably is the most fun part for all of us watching this little paparazzi. Hit play. This is hilarious because when I played with this before, I was only playing with it with one light. And it's beautiful that these lights are all doing this. The more lights you hook up, the better it is. And also I can change, see, I can change color temperatures. There we go, 10K paparazzi lights. $3K paparazzi lights, okay. It's a pulse. I'm not sure what pulse is, so let's find out. Sirens. You know, I think it means sirens. I think it says siren, but it really means flashing cop lights. Oh yeah, look, I'm totally busted. I remember when my little daughter once had little sneakers with lights in them, and the lights were blue and red and white, which is very nice and patriotic, but let's face it, when she's sitting in the back of the car, she would bang her feet on the whatever, and we get these flashing blue and red lights. We're like, uh-oh, the cops are after us. And we'd be like, no, they're not. So here we go. Heavenly knows what a fun, let's see, strobe effects. Hit play. Okay, that's not too exciting. Lightning, fireworks, fire, explosions. Oh gosh, let's see what that does. Oh, I can't imagine. In other words, okay, you got the shot of the car blowing up, boom, and car blowing up, boom, and then when you're photographing the actors with their reactions to what's going on, boom, now I've got stuff exploding, big, red. And what you can't see is I have controls on the app for the starting hue, the stopping hue. Oh, so you could start really, get really bright yellow, then dim down to red. Minute. I have color temperature chases and color chases. That's on these effects here, where you can just have the colors sort of chase and do that. You can manually set on this app some of the color effects. Hopefully nobody's got any bad reactions here. Oh gosh. Oh, here's fun. This is television. In other words, if I'm watching television, let's see, I'm going to set the app to be a little bit more here, so it's a little more exaggerated. So in other words, if I'm watching TV, and you have a shot of me watching TV, are these going to change? No. Speed them up a little bit. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so in other words, you're having somebody watching television as the scenes change in the TV. You see how things are changing on their face? That's what this little effect does. Clouds passing. What will that do? I guess it's going to dim the lights. I don't have the time for that. I got to kick into this. Bad fluorescent. It's got these lights which are kind of greenish, and they flicker every once in a while. You see? In other words, I'm going to, you're shooting something, someone's living in some crappy drug dealer apartment, and, they're walking through the hallway, and the lights are flickering. Now, instead of having somebody having to do that, you could just set this up to do that. But I'm going to go back to, here we go, straight color temperature. And I think that's about that in terms of the educational section of this video. And the nice thing is I'm running these lights all at 100% all along, and of course they've run. I just haven't actually proved them out yet. It's hard to see here with all these lights shining in my face because I'm trying to light myself bright enough to match the daylight behind me, but too bad. Let me look at your comments. And at this point, I'm happy to take any more questions. Abe Kurland. Hey, Abe. Busted. Abe's my best friend. he works and he also was very helpful. Give me information about some of these things. Thank you very much. So yes, I was going to let... Gosh, YouTube is awesome. I was going to let Abe know I was going to do this, but I didn't even know when I was going to do it. I wanted to find a day when it wasn't too hot and it wasn't too windy, so I could set this stuff up and just go for it. And honestly, I didn't know if it was going to work or not. So thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to answer your... Again, Ken Rockwell answering your questions live here. If you put them in the comment section, I can see them. And we can go on for a while until I run out of my refreshments here. Also, too, let me know how you like the lighting. I can make the lighting darker or bluer or cooler or do whatever, and you guys can make me look like Frankenstein or whatever. In fact, what I really should do is make a remote control. You know how sometimes you can go to a webcam and point it around? Okay. Edwin says, thanks, fastest talker. Oh yeah, well again, I wanted to talk because I wanted to cover what the key was, talking about lighting. Okay, Gerald Zant says, when he shoots a home family video with a palm head handheld camcorder, never uses additional lighting, only available lighting. Should he invest in lighting for home video? Thanks. You know, if you're happy with what you get and your home has really wonderful lighting, then no, don't worry about it. The key is if you want it to, it's funny, if you want to make a serious motion picture and have it look more natural, then by all means. In fact, typically what you might want to get is just this littlest guy. And then just mount them on your camcorder. I should say the two littler guys, the Celli. Well, at least those of you who are no music, plural of cello is celli, not cellos. But every one of the portable ones, the ones that come with the batteries, the cellos, celli, and the viola, come with this little, it's actually a rather nice tripod head adapter. It's a ball head with a 1/4-20 thread that the light can thread on. And then the bottom comes with this adapter that either mounts in a shoe or on a tripod or on another tripod. And the key is you get this adapter, it comes with the light comes with the battery and this adapter and the charger, so you can put either the cello or the timpani on your camcorder. And the beauty of it is it would certainly make people's faces look better. If when you're shooting around, I don't know what you're shooting, but if people's faces aren't well lit, which typically they might not be because you might have lighting all around the house, but no lights actually on your family, it's worth a try. And the beauty of it is, another reason I bought from B&H all these decades is because, you know, I'm not clairvoyant. I don't know if stuff's going to work for me or not. I buy things with the best intentions, and I usually love them to death. But if I don't love something to death, I can send it back. I've been buying from B&H since the 1970s, and I've always bought from them because if I didn't like it, I could just send it back, and I wouldn't get a dirty look or an argument or an excuse. They'd just be like, I'd almost feel guilty because they were so nice about it. Hey, sorry, Mr. Rockwell, here's your money back. And there you go. So likewise, you can certainly order these and try them, and you would probably love them. And if you hate them, you can always send them back so long as you haven't lost anything or broken anything. Okay. I'm going back in comments. I'm a little bit behind on some of the comments, and I want to get to all of them. Let's see. The last comment I had came in at 56 after the hour, and it is now 27. Oh, so I'm a little behind. That's what I was doing my monologue. Okay. Abe says hi. Hi, Abe. Might have think of one of those little ones. You know, live it up. Again, I have the link in my description. Hopefully I have my link in my description correct, which brings you over to B&H where I got these lights. And so the little one is called the viola. I think the best buy is probably the cello because it's twice as much light and it's not that much more expensive. And it also mounts directly on top of your camera and moves around. And I get that. Black Dynamic asks, or Brack Dynamite. Oh, Brack Dynamite asks, how do these continuous lights compare with strobes for studio stills? I'm primarily shooting an RB. You know, I covered that before, but again, not everybody you guys watching. Forget these lights for studio still photography work. These are not lights for still shots. They are continuous lights for continuous shooting continuous video or motion picture. For studio shots, for still shots, I shoot nothing but strobes because the strobe is an instantaneous burst of incredibly intense light. So I can shoot down like F11 or F32. And the strobe is of such a short duration, it stops any motion or camera motion, so everything looks super sharp. So in my studio, I'm shooting at like F11, F16, F22, stopped at like 1,000th of a second burst, especially in an RB when you want to stop that. Whoa, we're getting some wind here. We're getting some wind. So no, forget these for still photos. These are for video and motion picture work. Patrick says the campfire effect is pretty convincing. I saw that. Hello from down under. I've seen this. Battery powered, John asks. Yes, all the lights I've spoken about are battery powered. The smaller ones, the viola and the cello, come with a charger and a lithium-ion battery pack for battery-powered use. The larger one, the timpani, which is a 1 by 1 foot square, comes with like a 120-watt power supply to plug in the wall. And if you want to run that one battery-powered, you can go out and get your own V-mount batteries and chargers or whatever you want to do from that. Valzajpeg says, I'm sorry, this is so far away, my phone. Oh, I can't really see that. Have I ever had back pain from carrying heavy gear and bending over? After walking with a backpack for a while, my low back hurts. You know, the only time I've really used the backpack is for backpacking, when I've got my camping stove, my food, my thermarest, my sleeping bag, and my tent on my back. And then my back doesn't hurt because it's a good workout and everything's all well adjusted. I don't believe in using camera backpacks to actually carry equipment. Yes, in fact, I use a camera backpack. I use I'm going to get it. I'll be right back. I'm going to walk 2 feet over and get my camera backpack. Can I do this? This is my Think Tank airport commuter, which I love. I never carry my gear on my back with this. Let's watch this all fall out on the ground here. What have I got? Here's a whole bunch of my gear. These 3 studio lights, can I do this? No, I'm short of hand. You see this section over here? I put those 3 small lights in there and they fit. I just use this large backpack for getting gear from one location to the next. And I really only use the handle that makes it work like a suitcase. I rarely put it on my back. If I put it on my back, it's getting from my car into wherever I'm going to shoot, or getting it from my home to my car to drive to wherever I'm going to go shoot, and then get my stuff out of that backpack and just grab what I'm going to use for that particular moment. But I don't believe in wearing a camera backpack to carry gear, because I think you're carrying too much gear. And in my opinion, let's face it, when I'm shooting my Nikon, I shoot my 28-300 zoom, and I have a 16-35 in my pocket. With my Canon, I shoot my 16-35 ISL and my 100-400 L2, and one of those is in my pocket and the other one's on the camera, and I'm good to go. I try not to carry too much stuff. The more experience you have, just like an experienced world traveler, the more experience you have, the less stuff you carry. Because you start thinking, I never used that lens or never used that filter. Why did I bring it? And so you don't bring it the next time. So I carry very little gear when I'm actually walking around. And so no, I haven't had back pain, but that's because the only thing I ever do is carry camping gear. Now, if I had the problem is with the backpack. Here's the other problem with the backpack. You have a backpack full of camera gear, you can't get at it. You have to twist around and all your stuff drops out. You have to take it off and put it down every time you want to get stuff out, which seems a little bit silly. If I use a bag, I'll use a Think Tank retrospective bag, which is just a shoulder bag that I love. It's made out of canvas. It feels really good. And then I can just grab the stuff as I'm shooting. Or I used to use waist bags, which would be around my waist, and I could just get things like right in this little tray in front of me. So I've always been a conscientious objector to backpacks, so I'm sorry. If your low back hurts, I talked to your doctor or maybe even, physical therapists. I'm really good, I learned. It might be a matter of just a lot of exercise and strengthening the back, but I'm not a doctor, but ask your doctor about that. That'd be my thoughts. What do I think of, Janislaw asks, what do I think the recent trends among young people to go back to analog? That's an excellent question. As an old timer who shot film, because that's all we had back then, I find it amusing that the less experienced would think it was something fun to shoot film. Film is a royal pain. Just think of the environmental impact if you have to drive your car to the photo lab to drop off your film, drive your car back to the photo lab to pick up your film, and then look at your stuff and drive it back to the lab to get prints made. Even if you had a free car, it just takes up so much time, and you can't see your work for a couple hours. It's a pain. The results are really good. Young people, I think it's great. They're experimenting. It's like innocent young people who don't know how awful LP records are. They sound horrible. They scratch, they wear out, they get dirty, they sound worse every time you play them. They're warped, they're not punched on center, so they do this. You have to clean your stylus, you have to clean your records, you can't even play them in the same room you're playing the music because the speakers have sonic feedback through the turntable and make the sound worse. Back in the day with LPs, I remember I would record them on tape and play them back from tape so I wouldn't have that interference effect and I wouldn't wear out the disc. Some people say they prefer the sound, but that's because back in the old days, the music was not compressed as much dynamically. Today, the music is severely compressed between loud and soft before it's put on a CD. The CD is a perfect reproduction of bad music being put on it. It's not the CD's fault. But anyway, so I think it's great people are trying photography with film. But here's some information I got from one of the filmmakers. He said, if you take the peak year of film sales being about 1999 or year 2000, which is right before digital started eating into that, if you take that as the 100% mark, they fell down to about 2% of sales up until recently. Then young people started thinking that old stuff that they didn't know about was cool, like LP records, because they never actually lived through it, and they started trying it out. You know, God bless them for trying it. Everybody should try anything new. He said, yes, sales have gone up. They've gone up to about 3% of what their peak was. So they've gone from 2% to 3%. So if you're a short timer, you're like, wow, in the past couple of years, things have gone up by 50%. Film is just going out of control. But if you're an old timer, you're like, so what? So I think it's good. But in the old days, I would go out shooting. And if I was very cheap on film and be very careful, I might only shoot like 3, 4, 5 rolls in a day. And I was being careful. On other days, maybe I'd shoot 10 or 20 rolls in a day, every single day. So here's the key. Today, a typical amateur might buy, like, oh gosh, I'm gonna call up B&H, I'm gonna order like a 3-pack of film, and I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna be a pro. And you know, you shoot that 3-pack for like the next week. That's not gonna bring film back, but film never went away. So that's another great thing. He wants to stop back pain. He listens, okay, John Gaspar says he listens to Esther Gockel. Everybody should check her out. Okay, I have no idea who this is, but he's spelling Esther, E-S-T-H-E-R, then Gokhala, G-O-K-H-A-L-E, talks about a cure for back pain. Thank you very much. Music and Arts asks, what CRI number is good enough? Oh, excellent question. I forgot to say, another thing that impresses me about these Luxli lights is they're not rubbish from China. They're actually made in Norway. And I didn't believe it when I ordered them, but lo and behold, I got them and it said made in Norway right on the back of them. They have a color rendering index of 97, 98, something very, very, very high, which is very respectable. But here's the even better part. The best part is every single one comes with an individual calibration certificate. Every single light, even the least expensive, came with a certificate that showed us what the color rendering index was for every color temperature from like 3,000 to 10,000. It showed us how accurate the color temperature setting was to what you had set it, or say how accurate the color temperature is to the setting. And it told you this is great, something I even had to look up, but I know color science. The deviation from the Planctian locus. Excuse me, I'll try that again. The deviation from Planctian locus. I'm like, what is that? Well, that's how far off it is green magenta. So yes, these are extremely well-made lights, and they're even certified with a printed test certificate for every single light for its color accuracy to the stated values on the back of it, as well as its color rendering index. So how good is good enough? Usually if you got like 95 or above, you're really good. Admittedly, in my home, I have nothing but 100% color rendering index. I use nothing but tungsten and tungsten halogen lights. I won't accept anything else in my home because for me, only 100% is good enough. Some people, I don't know, may read the myth and, get these awful, remember those compact fluorescent lights some people still have? LED bulbs can be good at home, but here's the problem. In fact, lately, yeah, the color rendering index, and you get a 2700 Kelvin LED bulb, it usually looks really good. Here's the problem. I don't know about you guys, I like light dimmers. I use a lot of dim light in my home. LED bulbs still don't have dimming down correctly. Philips has some attempt to imitate this, but the problem is when you dim a light, its color temperature goes down. I mean, literally, it does. And let's face it, the filament might be 3200 Kelvin when it's at 100%, but as it dims, it's actually getting cooler in temperature, which is why it's getting warmer in color temperature. In other words, it gets more orange as it cools down. And a light has to do that. Now, a tungsten light does it naturally. And here's another weird thing or I should say few people realize. Our eyes naturally are more sensitive to blue and really dim light. And that's why 3200 to 2700 Kelvin light at night looks white, and daytime 5500 Kelvin looks white. Why is that? Well, in the old days, the way we're designed is, in the old days, before technology, we had the sun and 5700 Kelvin or 5800, 5400, whatever it is all day long. And then at night, we're all hanging out by the campfire. Our eyes are naturally built so that looks good. And that's why when you take a picture on a camera that doesn't have an automatic white balance setting, things either look too blue outside or way too orange at night. But here's the problem. Normal incandescent and tungsten halogen lights get warmer as you dim them down, which is natural and the way it should look. The problem is if you use LED lights, they don't get warmer. And in fact, if you look at an LED bulb as it dims, it looks like it's turning bluer or grayer, which is not what the bulb is doing. It's the way our perception of the bulb is changing. So I would never use LED bulbs on any fixture that's going to be dimmed in my home. I use a couple of them for like garage lights. But so to answer your question about color rendering, I use only natural tungsten and well, by natural, I mean it looks natural. Tungsten halogen. And I don't care about consumption because I have a 15 kilowatt array of solar cells on my roof, so my electricity is basically free. I don't have to be I don't know, worrying about LED lights. And if you want to get me started, all these people trying to worry about saving 10 watts in their light bulb, then go out and buy a Tesla that burns about 50 kilowatts per hour or whatnot. It's like, well, hold on, which one is it? But I won't get there. But that was asking what CRI number is good enough. 90, 95 is good enough. And below 90, it's really not stuff you should be using for photography. Somebody asks about Stuart McGill. I don't know, loves it when I talk audio. You know, it's another day's talk. You know, and the question is, my kids are smart enough to know to have different YouTube channels for different subject matter. If I want to talk about music and hi-fi, I don't really want to pollute my photography channel with this stuff, because my thought was, maybe you guys can tell me, if I put up a review of a stereo piece of gear, do you guys who subscribe to my photography channel, which is what this is all about, really want to get noticed as the Ken Rockwell reviewed, you know, the Framulator 5000, you know, subwoofer assembly? Maybe not. My thought is I don't want to pollute what I do with stuff that's less relevant. Let's see, someone said, Esther Gokale, just wonderful, make expensive seats obsolete. No Ken likes his HM. I don't even know what HM is. Okay, Valzapeg says, did I know that OLED screens and dimmable lights use pulse width modulation? Absolutely. That make the light flicker and are bad for eyes. Oh, absolutely. And the question is the frequency with the pulse width modulator operates. Now, if the pulse width modulator or PWM works at a lower frequency, which is easier to design and more efficient, it can start to make visible flicker, but I have not seen anything today that flickers at a low enough rate that I can see it. In fact, something about these Luxli lights is, at least my timpani, I think because they don't have any visible flicker, even when I really test for it. Obviously, they can't have any visible flicker because then our motion pictures just start flickering. It seems like any FM radio within about 10 feet is completely zonked out from all the radio frequency interference from these things. So they may be using 100 megahertz range pulse width modulators. Realize Kent always buys Australian made. Absolutely, Rode microphones. Yeah, there he goes. He said Rode microphones after I already knew it. But when it comes to lights, everything for sale is from China. Nope, these Luxli lights from Norway. Screw China and their communist government. I don't have a problem with China. It's their illicit communist, whatever, I don't need to get into politics, but, you know, let's free China. Anyway, they try not to buy anything from China, but sometimes that's all there is. Comments? Look harder. In the United States, you can get New Balance shoes made in USA. These lights, made in Norway. What else did I get recently? My bicycle, my Trek bicycle, was a leftover, made in USA. There's some other good stuff. I always look where something's made, but you guys know that about me. But you can always just say no. Merd35 asks, how long before I have to replace these solar panels on my roof? I heard they break down after so. You know, I was afraid that the solar panels on my roof were just going to get dirty and filthy and have to pay some guy to wash them. And then he's going to spray them with the hose, and they're going to be really, really hot because, remember, they're black, so they get super hot, and they would crack. No, mine have been working at full efficiency ever since I put them on. The installation guy said, don't worry about it. I think ours have like a 20 or 30-year warranty. Herman Miller says I like. Yeah, I do like Herman Miller, made in USA. I have a Herman Miller Aeron chair I use at my desk. It is super comfy, and it's made in USA. And again, you buy quality, it never wears out. They say the poor man always pays twice because the poor man will buy something crappy made in China, and it's good enough. And guess what? It breaks, and then they have no warranty support. Then you buy what you really wanted again. But again, you don't need me for that. But I think solar panels on the roof last longer than you're going to keep your house. And here's the thing. I didn't really want to get solar panels because they were expensive. It cost me like $50,000. I'm like, great, I don't have that much electric bills. But here's the deal. You go to sell your house, it probably adds that much value, so it's a freebie. Ken, Patrick says, I could at least see putting the audio stuff in a separate playlist, but here, as you said, another channel is probably best. Hi from Prague, Bohemia. Oh, tell me about that Pavel writes, because I always thought Prague was in Czech Republic. A VA says, why have I given the Nikon D3000? Now, for you history buffs, the Nikon D3000 was Nikon's first 3000 series camera. They came out, what, maybe 10 years ago? A bad review. He bought a new one when it first came out. It works great. Simple. The D3000 didn't have enough digital signal processing power. Its processor was too weak, too slow. And everything I tried to do on it took entirely too long. Its pictures look great. The problem is every time you try to hit playback or change a setting, I need things to work now. And It was entirely too slow. D3100 and newer, fixed that, and I love all the other ones, but D3000, I'm sorry, but I still maintain is Nikon's worst digital SLR ever, because they're all pretty good, but D3000 is the worst. How are you guys liking my lighting? Let me take a look at my controller here. It's now at 100% brilliance. It's about 5800 Kelvin. And again, I'll be here all day. I've been on for an hour and a half answering all your questions about anything and everything. Ostensibly about lighting, because I want to show you these new lights, but since I'm here, he never does a home video. Okay, he always uses a handy camcorder video. What camera do I use for video? For my video, the only camera I use for video is my iPhone. I'll admit that it's the in thing. Oh, Bohemia is a part of the Czech Republic. Thank you. People get excited because they think that they're supposed to buy an interchangeable lens camera like a Nikon or a Canon or Sony to shoot video. And all you folks ask me questions. Should I get the Z6 for video? What lens do I need to make great looking videos? Yes, the iPhone. The iPhone is better than any interchangeable lens camera for video. And this is why. No, it's not a green screen here. This is real life. Here's why. The iPhone has higher technology, more technology, smarter technology, better firmware, more smarter people develop the iPhone than in any of the foreign camera companies. And it's got more budget. Apple sells more iPhones than anybody sells anything, and they can afford to put the investment into making everything more perfect than any other camera maker possibly could, because Nikon or Canon are tiny compared to Apple, you know that. The iPhone, just from what I can see, does automatic, magical, high definition, it also does 4K, easy, it does well. My iPhone records 4K for hours on its own battery. I tried recording 4K on my Fuji X-T30. The battery ran down and the whole thing overheated after about 5 minutes because the technology was inferior. There's automatic HDR on the iPhone for video. In other words, if the lighting is really bad, typically the way most of us shoot our video, including myself, sun shining on my forehead, and the forehead's all washed out, the iPhone within about a second says, aha, this is not right, and somehow fixes the lighting so it looks good. It can do motion, the batteries don't wear out, it doesn't run out of storage, because I've got 512, gigabytes of storage on this iPhone 11 Pro Max I'm shooting this on. It looks the best. Remember, I'm shooting this video on the front camera so I can look at my screen and see your comments here. So again, indoors, I would use nothing but the iPhone for video. And here's another thing about the iPhone. The iPhone has a much smaller format sensor. So it is, look at that, the little light's lighting me from below. It looks a little weird. What if I put the little light up here? Because the iPhone uses a smaller sensor and a shorter focal length lens, it can focus more quickly because the lens internals have to move less far to focus from near to far. And thus my iPhone focus is superior to any interchangeable lens or mirrorless or DSLR camera trying to shoot video and expecting to autofocus. The autofocus in the iPhone is the best. I don't know if you can see this, but what if I get out of the way? Does it do it? I don't know. But the key is, look at my YouTube channel. All those videos, every single one shot on iPhone. And when I take camera equipment in and out, the iPhone tracks it. I don't know how many videos I watch, supposedly professional, shot on, on a Sony Alpha 7 or I don't know what. They're awful because people try to shoot autofocus for video, which you can't do in anything but an iPhone. And the focus is always late or on the wrong thing. Did you know that in Hollywood, everything's shot manual focus? Even your local TV studio, everything is shot manual focus. You have a camera operator and you have a focus puller. It's a guy whose only job in life is to keep that focus manually focused and moved as someone moves around. Although mostly motion pictures are all rehearsed and people are on marks. But the guy has it all rehearsed. He knows, okay, this guy's at 3'11". This other person's at 8'6". And he's constantly popping back and forth so it looks natural. That's not autofocus. You're watching a Hollywood movie. That's not autofocus. That is manual focus done by an expert. And as a full-time guy, the focus puller, who's doing nothing but tracking that focus for that production. And so to expect that you could buy a Nikon or a Canon or a Sony or a Fuji and have those big APS-C or full-frame lenses actually autofocus and know what to autofocus on, not going to happen. Okay, answering your questions live here at kenrockwell.com and kenrockwell.tv. If you put your questions in the comments section, I'm reading them live and responding to them. Thank you. They like my video here. Monrovia and Silesia. Wow, have to be off. No, Nikon D7100 is marvelous. There are newer versions, but I don't think they're anything significantly better. D7100, I think, is still state-of-the-art. Lights should be adjusted if they don't reflect in my glasses. Yes, I probably should stop everything. Well, let's see. What if I could? Nah. I'm sorry. I set this up on a shoestring this morning. You're right. I should put the lights further to the side so they don't light my glasses up. I'm sorry. As I said, this is not a professional production. This is me screwing around in my backyard. Someone here, Patrick, says he bought the X100F after watching my X100V video. What tricks do I have for making the onboard flash look as good as it can for photographing? You know, that's the beauty of the Fuji X100 series. The onboard flash works perfectly, and there's no tricks needed. I love it when I don't need tricks. I love it when I don't have to come up with a website with 100 suggestions. Just leave the flash on at all times. And it works great. That's the trick. iPhone video is not as good in the dark. Well, if you're taking pictures in the dark, the picture's too black. And if you're taking pictures in the dark, what is my call? If you're taking pictures in the dark, pictures look bad. Lighting is everything in video. We have an amateur here. Tom asked me, what's my call sign? I never got a commercial. Excuse me. I always did commercial. I have FCC general class, first class, second class, and third class. Most importantly, the first class FCC license for commercial broadcasting, radio and TV that I've done for a living. I never got the amateur license because I was always too lazy to learn code, although I'm told they removed that now. Tom is missing plain view and Bethpage. Ah, yes, me too. What ISO can iPhone small sensor go? Doesn't matter. ISOs are obsolete. Honestly, you know, you can look at the EXIF data for all the iPhone shots and see for yourself. I think it goes up to about, actually it goes up to some pretty ridiculous things because I can shoot the Milky Way in the dark with my iPhone, and I forget where it goes. Look at my website, look at kenrockwell.com, look at my iPhone 11 Max Pro, or 11 Pro Max, excuse me, review. And I have some pictures there with the information. Yes, the audio is from the iPhone mic. It's from the built-in iPhone mic. The built-in iPhone mic shoots in stereo normally, but I'm actually doing this live YouTube broadcast through the YouTube app on my iPhone, and so it's summing it, or at least somehow it comes out in mono. And what I'm impressed at is all the processing gets the levels just dead on, shooting it live here through the iPhone, through the YouTube app. My YouTube audio is shot with studio microphones and American-made Apogee preamps, and lots of processing to get it to be just perfect. I'm tickled that my iPhone does it magically just perfect. Although if I shoot it in my studio, because I'm doing everything the hard way, then it doesn't come out magically perfect. Sorry about that. Gee, tell you what, it's Ken Rockwell here, kenrockwell.tv. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'm going to get them. I'm going to rearrange the lights a little bit, see if I can get it off my eyeglasses. I'm still here. And what's great is I think my family's watching. I warned them if they tried to call me, hey, this lighting doesn't look bad. Now here's the thing, if I turn the lights off, you know, that doesn't look bad either because you don't have a lot. But it always looks better with light in my face. I told my family if they tried to call me because there was some emergency, I wouldn't be responding. Yeah, you see how it looks so much more natural with lighting? And I don't even have them positioned right. See, where if I put some over here? Yeah, you see, that looks relatively natural, but if I turn the lights off, yeah, it looks natural, but it doesn't look as good. You see how my head is dark and sideways and the background is washed out? And if I turn the lights back up, again, I'm turning them up through the app on my iPad. You see, now I'm lit. And the level overall came down, so the background is lit up. And again, my apologies. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a guy who shoots every day for a living. I'm doing this YouTube stuff for fun. And so I don't have a second guy shooting the video for me like a full-time YouTuber would do. There we go. Hey, look at that. Okay. You know, I work for a living. I'm not a YouTuber. Now, the problem is my whole set, hey, you want to see my setup? Here we go. I'm going to pull this phone off my stand. Oh, wow. What if I hit? Can I do that? Yeah. It zoomed in too much. Oh, my gosh. Sorry to scare you guys. Let me show you the setup that's been lighting me all along here. I've got one little extension cord comes in to that. Whole bunch of just arbitrary AC adapters, 12 volts to run these lights. Here's the two cello. There's this guy that just didn't feel like putting on a stand. That's the tripod that's been holding my iPhone. There's my iPad. I've been controlling the lights. And here's the big timpani light off to the side. And actually, since I brought all this gear out here to plug in, I actually plugged my iPhone into an AC adapter, which I normally don't do. I love my iPhone because not only does it look great, but my iPhone will let me make hours of video out here purely on the battery. I try to do that with, like, you know, all these Japanese cameras, which are usually made in China, have a maximum take length of like 30 minutes, which means you can't even shoot anything for more than 30 minutes before you have to stop and cut them off. Although I think that went away. In fact, I was asking Sony, and Sony said that, nah, you can pretty much run them continuously now if you want to. And I think all these cameras will break the file after some odd number of gigabytes. They'll just make another file, and it's no big deal because you'll get maybe 2 or 3 files, each maybe a couple of gigabytes. And when you put in your editing software, you just put them together, and there's no jump. Okay, are you guys happier now? I should have done this before, but hey, I'm sorry. I'm just doing this as a laugh. Let's see, what's the scenic look here? Let's see. These are lights on. Ah, you see, those are lights off. And look at that crummy picture. I look kind of blue because I've been lit only by, let's see. Do I go wider? I had this zoomed in before. No, ooh, there we go. Look at that. Look how bad this picture looks. I look bluish because I'm lit by the sky around me. The background is lit by the sun, and I'm lit by nothing other than the umbrella that's on top of me, which is not light. The key is to make it look even a little bit natural. If I bring the lights all the way up, you know, I'm still not bright enough because I moved them further away. Let's move them closer. Ah! Hey, how about that? See? These guys here. You know, to be honest, I think what I really need is I've got this timpani, which I love, and I've got these smaller lights. I think what I really need is another timpani. Just 2 timpanis, boom, I'd be all set. But I wanted to try all the different sizes because, well, let's face it, you guys love it when I give advice and talk about what I talk about. I think the key is 2 timpani, and you're good to go. And also, I'm using some really crappy little tripods here, some small, cheap tripods to hold these other lights. I should have put a better tripod because I don't have the flexibility in these. I've got one of these $5 Ipotech tripods I reviewed, which, you know, is just fine for holding a light. Let's see, if I turn the lights off now, okay. So I'll bring this, do I want to bring this down? Nah, that's about right. Zoom in a little bit. Oh, yeah. Okay, Ken Rockwell taking your questions live here through the comment section. Audio, yes, from the iPhone mic. Useful ISO without too much noise. You know, the iPhone is so brilliant, I have not seen noise in any of my iPhone shots. Again, the iPhones continuously get better. What's nice is that Apple brands everything as iPhone, which they should, because let's face it, even iPhone 5, iPhone 4, they're brilliant and they still work today. They still got lots of free software updates. They work great. The audio quality is fantastic, so no worries with any of that. Let's see, what about the use of polarizing filters when shooting video? Could a Polaroid filter remove the reflections from your eyeglasses? Yes and no. If I had, well, that's just it. In a real production, I'd have someone doing makeup, and they'd be putting, what would they be doing? Putting powder on me so I didn't get reflections off of just natural perspiration, although I don't see any. But yes, a polarizer could help, but remember, polarizers are most effective at certain angles of reflection. In other words, an angle about like bouncing off something about like that. If it was a direct 90-degree reflection, doesn't work. If it's a direct reflection like this, I mean just skimming, then it won't work. So polarizers help, but considering that most of this is direct light, I don't think that would help. Again, Ken Rockwell here, kenrockwell.tv, kenrockwell.com, answering your questions live if you put them in the comment section. Am I wearing a face mask? Yes, I have a transparent television face mask. If so, where and when? Oh, you were more serious. Yes, I have a face mask every place I go. I don't go outside. That's why I'm sitting here. When you say I don't leave the property, I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going anywhere probably till Christmas, and then I'm still not going anywhere. But in all honesty, yeah, I wear a face mask. To be honest, the one, I take a bandana. I've got it folded over. Also, B&H and Adorama. We bought some cloth face masks. I mean, some of the throwaway ones, not cloth, the paper ones. We bought some throwaway ones. They cost us a lot of money through Walmart, and they showed up like a month late. Take a look at my kenrockwell.com, hit the news button, and both B&H and Adorama have some. I think the packs of 50 for about $35, which are much less than I paid, and those are actually in stock. So that's where I would get my face masks. Honestly, is it still worth to keep the 5D Mark I, or sell to invest money in a 10 to 18 STM for use on my T5i? Well, the 5D, I love my original 5D. I love it. I paid $3,200 when it first came out, and I'm not selling that because it's not worth $3,200 anymore. The key is it's not worth very much. The picture quality is excellent, but the problem with the original 5D is, or has always been, that's interesting. Can I do that? No. The problem with the original 5D has always been that the LCD on the back is awful. It's off color and dim, and it's just not very good. So it's kind of like for shooting film, in that you don't know what you got until you go home and look at it in your studio. Look at that. I can take the little viola here, put it closer, and it looks so much better. How do I get these closer? Let me see here. What am I going to do here? And I'm making up this as I go along. I was asking myself, thinking, how would I do this video? Because I still don't know what looks good enough. But I'm like, why don't I do it live on the air? Because you guys get a kick out of that. If in doubt, share. Here we go. I'm putting this little baby guy that I was making fun of for not having a lot of light. But you know, if you put it close, of course. Oh, hold on. Look at this. I've got a toy tripod here. Yes, this is a toy tripod. It weighs like less than an ounce. And I'm going to put the viola on this. Ah! Should have done this a long time ago. Pardon me while I'm twiddling around. Uh-oh, hold on. Oh, cool. Now, I just unplugged my AC adapter to my viola, but I left the battery pack on, and it did not turn off. Let's see, I've got that. I'm going to plug in the adapter. Let's see, it says battery. I'm going to plug in my AC adapter. But again, with the viola and the cello, the AC adapter you provide, but most of us have so many 12-volt AC adapters lying around, we don't even know it. Yeah, it automatically switches, so it's basically got an uninterruptible power supply equivalent when you leave the battery on the back. I don't know if the battery charges when you're plugged into AC. That I do not know. Now what's happening here is this timpani, this big guy, has got more power than the other three little baby lights combined. So these other three lights are trying to compete and not doing very well. How's that? Well, you know, that doesn't look half bad. I've got some on my eyes. Look at what I can do here. I'm about in the patio table. And again, I'm Ken Rockwell. I'm just one guy. I don't have anybody else running camera or setting up lights for me in the background, so I can just look good and be the talent. In fact, there is no talent in this show, in case you didn't know. Sorry about that. There is no talent. Ah, bring that a little closer. Now we're talking. See, as I get the camera cut closer on me, then I can make the lighting closer on me. And this other tripod I brought out, doesn't have the flexibility. In fact, what I should do is, no, is that gonna work? No. How's that? I'm probably looking pretty good. For instance, if I turn off the lights through the app, yeah, see what it's doing? With no lighting, I'm just a shadow, and the background looks okay. But turn my lighting up, and I think it looked better. And by the way, excuse me, I'm 5800 Kelvin. See, these Luxli lights I'm controlling by an app, and I can make it run up to 10,000 Kelvin, run up to 3,000. And I think you glorious readers said, there we go, 5,600. I think you're saying it looks about right. I usually like it a little bit warmer. But let me look at your comments, which I can reply to live, and I'm answering any questions you guys might have. So again, the 5D you're asking me, worthwhile to keep it or not? You know, I don't know what the resale value is. To determine the resale value, go to eBay, search for what you want, and then press the option to select sold listings, and it'll show you what things have actually sold for, and that is what something is worth. So the 5D Mark I, you know, you're probably not, you'd have to ask yourself that. Are you ever going to use that? The picture quality is just as good as the modern cameras, just not as many pixels, but the ergonomics are not as good with the original 5D. But yes, the Canon 10 to 18 millimeter STM is a fantastic lens, and it's only a couple of $100. Guys, can I talk a little bit about my career and previous jobs I had before my website? Probably sounds boring. I remember ever since I was a kid, I've been playing with cameras. You know, I asked my parents, if I sit closer to the small lights, look at that. I get a better ratio. But now I'm interfering with one of the other lights with the iPhone here. Can't turn the iPhone over. Amateur work at its worst. Okay. I don't think anybody wants to hear about my career. Anyway, I was taking pictures of a little tiny kid. My folks got me an Instamatic camera. The great thing was we had a radio TV station in high school, and it was a real licensed FCC Class D FM radio station. So we got on the air, and we thought it was a joke because it was. We got live on-air experience, which took our broadcast career everywhere. I went on to get an engineering degree. I was designing, the reason I like audio is I was designing my own audio equipment and own stuff for the radio station and multi-band audio processors and stuff when I was in high school, which I didn't think was a big deal, but apparently it's a bit of a talent I have. I had my own recording company. When I was in junior high school, I would sell recordings to the other kids' moms for the various concerts they'd have at the school. And yes, believe it or not, look at that. Okay, that's looking a little good. I think I'm a little warm there. Is that better? Yeah, look at that. That's not half bad. Well, I should be over here, maybe. And again, this is with the lighting on. And if I dim the lighting through the free app, you see, then I go away. And when I brighten myself, the exposure of the phone or any camera lowers so that this stonework over here has detail. As opposed to doing this, the camera increases the overall exposure, try to get some detail on my face, which it can't. I'm all blue, and that's totally washed out. Here we go. In fact, I'm gonna make a screenshot. Let's smile. Oops, did I get that? No. Screenshot, turn the lighting up. Hey, take off my glasses, how about that? Ha! Lighting on. Okay, now where was I? Oh yeah, then I eventually worked in Hollywood, designing TV studios. But that's not really fun. I guess, yeah, in Hollywood, people weren't building studios so much back around 2002. And so the website that I started in 99, people weren't building TV studios because they were starting to edit their stuff on their MacBooks, right? On the plane instead of going to a studio at $800 an hour. And so my business dropped down and my website business was picking up. And so around 2004, I figured, forget this. Why am I beating my head against the wall when nobody wants to buy studio equipment when I could be doing my website? And thus, you guys have loved the fact that my website is, world standard ever since, 20 years ago, which I do full time. Well, I do a lot of, I shoot full time too, but here we go. Anthony asks, in what situations would I use one of my real cameras for video over the iPhone? Well, face it, when I shoot video, back when I would shoot video, i.e. longer form, where I want to shoot for an hour, I have a camcorder I use for photographing my kids. And I wouldn't use, you guys all think it's cool because the camera makers spend a lot of money to pay people to tell you to go do this and buy their junk. But I wouldn't use a Nikon or a Canon or a Sony to shoot video. They don't focus fast enough because the physics are stuff that they can't focus fast enough. And because I don't have a dedicated focus puller like we would in Hollywood, I can't track kids, so I use a camcorder. In fact, when you ask me would I use a real camera to shoot video, for about $1,500, go to B&H and in the search bar type professional camcorder. For about $1,500, you can land like a Canon or Sony full-on professional electronic news routing, broadcast quality, high definition 4K camera with an excellent lens on it for about $1,500, which has the correct size sensor and autofocus and so forth to work really, really, really well and give you much better luck than putzing around, if I can say putz on the air here, putzing around with a DSLR or mirrorless camera trying to shoot video and making these, well, anyway, that's my opinion. I would get a video camera for shooting video. I never had someone asked me about the Nikon D600. I never had a problem with the Nikon D600. Some people had oil issues, and I realize there are a lot of those people. Nikon made good on it by replacing sensors for free, even in used cameras, although some people still had problems with sensors. But no, the D600 is not a good deal, nor is a D610, simply because a D750 sells for not much more and sometimes less than the D600. And so the D750 is a superior camera. The real problem with the 600 and 610 is their autofocus system doesn't work in dim light, while every other camera does. So I wouldn't buy a D600 or D610 because although when it first came out, it was a bargain in price, it isn't today. Here I am again. Ken Rockwell with lights. And Ken Rockwell without light. wind is picking up. Maybe my lights are all gonna fall down to the ground. And B&H is gonna get another order. Let's see. Okay. It's a good question. Do I like today's Velvia 50 more or Nikon Vivid Plus 3? You know, that's an excellent question, but the way to ask that question is to ask yourself, you know, in Hollywood, we're talking about where we're going to finish to. We're going to finish the film. We're going to finish the video. We're going to finish for home video. Where are you going to use your pictures? If I'm projecting on a screen, Fuji Velvia 50 was designed for projection. You put it in a slide projector, especially a Hasselblad projector from 2 1/4, and it looks incredible. In fact, it looks beyond incredible. I'll take some more pictures here. Let's see. Here's with lighting. And a little warmer, 5,000 Kelvin. 4,100 Kelvin. 3,000 Kelvin. So if you're going to project on a screen, shoot film, project it from film. Don't project a scan from a digital projector. Project the film, original film in your projector on the screen. You will amaze everybody. If you're finishing on digital, i.e. if you're going to want to scan it into a computer, do it on a computer, process it in a computer, then just shoot on a digital camera. It's probably as simple as that. Same thing as black and white. Well, that's another thing. Actually, black and white's totally different. But by all means, if you're going to project it onto a screen, shoot Velvia. If you're going to scan it, the difficulty in scanning and the lack of color accuracy and so forth means you never get the quality that's in your Velvia film. When I hold film on a light table, it looks magnificent. When I scan it, because I don't drum scan it, I really should, but I don't, it never gives me the quality that's on the film. In other words, it never reproduces what's actually on the film. And so if I want a digital product, which I think everyone does today, then just shoot it digital in the first place. Okay, again, Ken Rockwell here, kenrockwell.com, kenrockwell.tv. Hold it above my head left side. Tom, our ham radio guy, I'm not sure what you wanted me to hold above my head. You want me to hold this little Luxli light? Little guy? Let's see, here's the Luxli light above my head left side. And like that, this is the dimmest light in the bunch here. No, I think I'm the dimmest light in this bunch here, but here we go. What's nice is, got a UPS. Plug it in, take it out. It runs on whatever it can. Battery still charged? Yeah, battery's fully charged. Again, I don't know if the battery charges when it's mounted in there. Again, I'm answering your questions live here if you put them in the comment section. And I'm playing around with Luxli lights. They're made in Norway. I got them at B&H. And they're incredible because they have complete control of color temperature, even remotely, as well as brightness remotely. I'm controlling them all here in this app. And I can make any color with them I want. I can simulate and synthesize the effects of putting a Lee or Roscoe gel over them, and I actually have the whole catalog named accordingly. And I love them, and that's some of what this is talking about. And I believe you can get these Luxli Norwegian-made lights at the link that should be in my description. Let's see. Gerald asks, is there a water reflection scene lighting option in the Luxli app that you can use to go with your pool background? I don't know, but I do know the app has some programmable ability, which I haven't had the time to want to twiddle with, where you can program it to flicker and have different colors and so forth. So I bet you could do that. Uh-oh, sprinklers coming on, but not on me. I'm asked, what's the 50 millimeter Nikon 55 millimeter f1.2 manual focus lens made for? It's made for photography. It'll work on any of the Nikon DSLRs today. It works great on any of the full-frame DSLRs. It's an older version, high-speed lens. Back in its day, it was made for photographing in low light. Back in the day, men would buy cameras, and the way you judged your camera was not by how many megapixels it had, but it was how fast your lens was. In other words, the standard lens was a 50 millimeter f1.4, and that's what most people got. Now it's a good lens. If you were poor, if you were a student, if you were an emerging photographer, you settled for the 50 millimeter f2 or f1.8, which was kind of an apology, aspirational lens. Like, one day I'll probably get the good lens. And if you were a pro or a manly man, you would go all the way and pay extra with a 50mm f 1.2. So although the results were basically the same, it just was a status symbol, like megapixels. Simple as that. eBay has lots of anxious bids that show the selling price. I'm not sure what that means. I have an entire section on how to win at eBay. Just Google how to win at eBay, and I pop right up. And I have everything I've learned about buying and winning on eBay. I win over 95% or 99% of the things I bid on. And you can learn how to do that for free at kenrockwell.com and just search for that. The key is, before the auction closes, nobody knows what the price is going to be. And the way a typical eBay auction goes is you'll have let's say $1,000 product, and the first couple of bids are like $1, $2, $3. Then it'll go up to like $50, and it'll stay at $50 for like a week. People start bidding 50, 55, 60, 65, thinking they're actually going to get a $1,000 product for $65. And then at the very last second, some guy, me, comes in and bids at the last second, not the last minute, the last second. My bid comes in, swamps all you guys, and I win, and I got that product for $800, and you guys don't even know it hit you. The key is a bunch of other guys who also bid at the last second. They bid like $600, $750, but because my $800 bid was the highest one of them, I won, and there we go. And what you don't know is although I won that $1,000 product for $800, my bid price was probably $900 because eBay's system is magical and it automatically only bids as little as it needs to for you to win. It won't actually bid the $900 unless it needed to. But again, I have that all up on kenrockwell.com. Search for how to win at eBay. The color here looks like a TV from the 70s. Remember Whirlybird? No, I don't. And I can change the color temperature of these lights. Now, actually, I got the close enough. Yeah, there we go. That looks bad. That's like 7,000 Kelvin. I can make the warmer, but now I don't look natural. I don't know, let's go 5,500. Again, the reason I love these Luxli lights is because everything I can tune exactly as I want it. There are plenty of LED lights for less money that come from China and are fixed 5,600, maybe fixed 3,200. But that, I think, severely limits what we can do with them. On the other hand, they cost a lot less. But if they're made in China, that means in a year from now, they're going to fall apart, and you're going to throw them away thinking, they were cheap. But why don't you just get the good stuff to begin with? A D600 used. Someone's asking about a D600. If they're $400 used, yes, that's a great buy. D750 around $750. Is that used? Then, then you've got to ask, what is there to pay for? Really, the only problem I ever had with the D600 was never a problem with oil, but was a problem that it wouldn't focus in dim light. Now, mind you, by dim light, I mean some light so dim that you really had trouble reading the newspaper. If the light was bright enough to read by, then any camera would focus well. And let's ask yourself, too, if you don't have enough light, why are you taking a picture? Too many amateurs ignore the lighting and worry all about what camera lens to use, when the only thing that really matters is the lighting. So I hope that helps. Again, Ken Rockwell here live, taking your questions here live at kenrockwell.tv, kenrockwell.com, and put your questions to me in the comments section and I will answer them live, or, as soon as I can get to them because they're pretty well backed up. Do I have any mentors who helped me with the audio technology I did and later with photography? Yes and no. When I was a kid, I went to the public library and read every book I can on photography, every book I can on audio. Now, in a case of audio, the public library did not have much on pro audio, but I read everything I could. I joined the Audio Engineering Society and read all the PhD level papers. You can do that at aes.org. And here's the thing about the Audio Engineering Society. I became even the vice president for the Hollywood section when I was in Hollywood. And one of the things we came up across is a lot of people were thinking that unless you had a couple of Grammy Awards already under your belt, that you couldn't join, that it was that high level of a society. And it is. But here's the difference. Like, I'm playing with this, which is the little tripod adapter mount that comes with the some of the Luxli lights. Like most societies, they're for people that love what we do. It's not like joining the Porsche Club, which was hilarious. When I joined that, they actually wanted the VIN number of my Porsche because they didn't want any non-Porsche owners to join, which is not really the good way to run a club, because you want to run a club that anybody who really has the enthusiasm should be there. But no, the Audio Engineering Society, aes.org, is happy to have anybody who wants to join, because people who want to learn, people who want to share, meet their colleagues, by all means. But I read a lot. I also read, back in the day, we had that's right, we even had real audio magazines, like the magazine Audio in the United States. And there were some lesser magazines called like Hi-Fi, High Fidelity, Stereo View. Those were not very useful. They were just consumer magazines. But the Audio magazine was written by guys who were real, and I got to meet them later on in life, guys who really know what they were doing. But we don't have magazines like that anymore today because audio is no longer a thing. It was taken over by video. And audio has really been a lost cause because there are some very dedicated makers in the US and Europe. But unfortunately, it's all fringe element because the only people that buy really good hi-fi equipment are mostly nuts, not music lovers. And they worry more about what kind of cable they should buy, which doesn't matter if you have good gear. That's just it. As you learn more about this, the more you realize if the cable changes the way something sounds, you're using garbage equipment that doesn't have the proper output impedances or whatnot, such that they are susceptible to cable problems. And then you'll hear differences in your cable. But, oh well, you did get me started, but don't get me started. But honestly, go to the public library. The problem is that today, yes, we have the internet and YouTube, and that's marvelous. You get lots of information, but the quality is lower because there's no barriers to entry. Every idiot has a YouTube, well, I shouldn't say that, but everybody has a YouTube channel. But here's the key. Look at somebody's portfolio. You can go to kenrockwell.com. My homepage is some of my work, and then you can click the gallery page and see what I do. If you don't appreciate someone's work, then don't take advice from them. It seems that there's untold numbers of people on YouTube and on the internet handing out free advice about cameras and lenses who don't even know what they do with them. They have never taken a good picture. Do they have a gallery section? Do they have a portfolio? No. They've got no work to show for their efforts, which means you shouldn't take any of their advice because they're just going to lead you to do nothing. It's easy to talk about gear. For instance, my son Ryan, I love Ryan. He's probably watching right now. He's now 13 years old. But I remember, we got a new car about 2 years ago. Ryan, who was age 11, who is super smart and knows everything, was showing, well, actually, I've given the punchline away, but the key is, imagine now there's a guy showing us how to use every feature of our new car, which like most new cars, you could get the weather in Taiwan for the next like 12 weeks on the screen. You could reprogram the cam angles on the transmission. You could reprogram like, the fuel injection pumps. You can change the phase angle of the camshafts, all from the dashboard while you're driving. And he was showing us this while we're going. We're like, wow, this guy knows a lot about this car. But here's the key. My son Ryan, God bless him, he's 11 years old. He's a driver's license from Legoland, but never actually driven on the street. So if you didn't know any better, ask yourself, would you really want to be taking advice on buying, a $100,000 car from someone who doesn't drive? And yes, we love Ryan. He has a lot of good advice, but he doesn't actually drive on the streets yet. So, although I'm sure he could, the key is when you're trying to get advice from YouTube or whatnot, look at a man's or a woman's portfolio and see the depth and breadth of the work they've created. If you admire their work, then consider their advice. If they don't have a portfolio, notice if you go to their website and it's like they have a section on reviews and where to buy stuff and technical stuff, but they don't have a portfolio, ignore them. Because the sad thing is, with digital cameras, I don't know why, with regular cameras, film cameras, this was never a thing. Most of us would rather talk about muzzle velocities of 50 caliber sniper rifles, or what kind of tank could take out what other kind of tank, or how many horsepower or how much torque our Ferraris had, and how many how many gears forward and reverse a car had, because Ferraris and Lamborghinis and handguns and stuff were cool. But today, some people think digital cameras are cool. They're not. They're just the tools. Like talking about screwdrivers. If I was a screwdriver manufacturer, I'd be all interested in the latest patents. But as an artist, I just want to create pictures. I don't care about the equipment. I do the website just for my own personal references. So to answer your question about where I learned how to do what I do, I learned at the public library. I learned by talking to as many people as I could in person, but always look at their pictures before you take their advice. For instance, a lot of people you probably work with who won't shut up about cameras. They know so much, but look at their pictures. If they have no pictures to show for it, ignore them. Because the people with the least experience are the ones handing out the most information. In fact, go to kenrockwell.com and search for 2 kinds of photographers, where I explain that. The guys who have the most time to contribute to chat rooms, the most time to make YouTube videos, are the ones who spend the least amount of time actually shooting. So watch out. The ones with the most information they hand out are usually the ones handing out the worst information. Oh, by the way, how to learn Photoshop? Don't pay for a college class. My teeth are still looking really yellow, and they are not that yellow, and I don't know why. Your community college district, wherever you may be, there are usually classes that are either free or $50 for a semester, and you get better teachers than trying to take the extension class from the real university for $800, because the university teachers are just pedagogues and don't actually do anything. That doesn't sound right, but in other words, they're not guys who work full-time for a living doing Photoshop and graphics and industrial design. Go take a community college class, you'll find guys that I would take classes from nearly for free, like Ashi Fossler, if you're watching, Ashi, and his little dog, what was his little dog's name? Well, I forget, his little Chihuahua. It was called Cheeto, yes. The point is, here's a guy who loved what he did, and he taught this class, got paid, I'm sure, next to nothing, but he taught it because he loved it. And because of that, he knew more and could help more than any $700 class at the real university. So go take a community college class in Photoshop, and you'll learn. But even better, I use the free Snapseed app on my iPhone, which does just as much for free. Okay, here's a question from Gerald Zanni. What pro amateur photo and video magazines do I like to read? Well, I only read ones that are in print. I used to read modern photography, and I would go to the library and even read the old issues back from the 1950s. But they all went out of business because, you know, it's sad, but my website actually had more readers than Popular Photography magazine did pretty much ever since I started my website. I would have millions of viewers. I get about 2 million different unique viewers every single month at kenrockwell.com. And Popular Photography magazine at its peak had about 500,000 subscribers. And, you know, that means people got the magazine, probably not even people who read it. Anyone coming to my site, I would read something. But I only read stuff in print. I just resubscribed to Outdoor Photographer because they used to have some good guys like Galen Roll and I forget some of the other guys' names, and women as well, who were really good and really helpful, wrote good articles. I just resubscribed to the print edition, but I haven't gotten any print editions yet, and now they just went to digital. So I don't know. Pavel asks, if I could have only one camera body and one lens for the rest of my life, what would be my choices? You know, iPhone. iPhone would be that. For Nikon, give me a D850 and my 28 to 300 millimeter lens. But the real favorite camera that I have is my Canon 5D SR, is what I get out when I really want something shot right. The problem is Canon doesn't make a practical 28 to 300 lens. They do make a 28 to 300. It weighs about 4 pounds. It's a beast L lens that most people have never even seen. It's not practical to carry around. It's a pain. And because you limited me to one lens, I use two. I use a wide zoom and a telephoto zoom. So I use the Canon to cheat. To answer your question, is what I really use for everything is Canon 5 DSR, still the world's highest resolution digital single lens reflex camera, the 16 to 35 f4 LIS, and the 100 to 400 LIS2. And the reason that Canon 100 to 400 is so superb is it focuses, like, literally, it focuses to about 2.5 feet. My particular one, it focuses closer than rated. So it actually replaces a macro lens as well. And it focuses ultra fast. Oh, here's an excellent question. What makes a professional camera, or is any camera a professional? Go to kenrockwell.com and look at my articles. I have 3 articles. How to become a pro photographer. And another one saying, what is a professional camera? And I think there's a third one to the series, but the key is a real pro can use any camera he wants. I have sold pictures from my iPhone, no problem. I've sold pictures from my crappy little cameras, and they have gone on billboards for McDonald's. They have been bought for thousands of dollars by Merck Pharmaceuticals, shot on my Nikon D40, no problem. It's never the camera. The only guys that need to buy a pro camera are guys that aren't very good because they don't know any better. For most things, and most of the people I see out there working for a living, shooting like an old camera, like a D7100 is now usually shooting like a D5400 and like a Tamron zoom, and people pay them good money to shoot stuff because it's never your camera. And if you're doing it for a living, you don't need to buy fancy stuff. Let's see. Or is any camera professional? Well, actually, I should say you can make money with any camera, but what makes a camera professional is being durable and being fast and easy to set. A pro camera has numerous controls and direct access buttons and dials. So when I change the situation, I can change what I'm doing instantly and not lose time to having to reset things. In fact, the reason I haven't really not enjoyed shooting Nikon that much over the past maybe 8 years now, since I went to Canon, is because they don't have presets that preset. They have settings banks. Let's see, they have the custom settings bank, the shooting settings bank, and I have to change 2 settings banks to get everything, but it doesn't get everything. It only gets 2/3 of what I want. Canon C1, C2, C3, bam, bam, bam. One for nature and landscapes, one for people, one for sports. And everything about my Canon cameras changes, including the frame rates at which they shoot, the way the autofocus system is set, the way the auto ISO system configures itself, my color settings, even the brightness of the rear LCD. For instance, my sports setting makes it really bright because I'm probably shooting outside. So that's what a pro camera is. A pro camera is one that does not get in the way of me shooting. Most amateurs don't mind if they have to go twiddle in menus to go change something, but I do. I should have started this years ago. Well, I'm not sure what this is. I mean, I've been shooting for over 50, on the air for over 20, on this video for over 2 hours. A YouTube channel. Honestly, I didn't start YouTube. I've been around longer than YouTube, but the reason I didn't start doing videos way back when you guys asked me to is 10 years ago, you said, why would we waste our time on YouTube when instead of watching a 20-minute long video, we could get the same information in 3 minutes of reading it on your website in text. And then the other thing was, like Rockwell, we work for a living, and we work in an office for a living. We can't sit around watching YouTube videos in our office without getting busted, but we can read your text articles and look like we're working. But today, my kids insisted, everybody insisted, do YouTube. And now that it's so easy, any idiot could do YouTube. Look at me. I'm shooting this on my iPhone, directly from iPhone, in the YouTube app, and it's trivial. Mr. Human Wreckage, that doesn't sound nice, asks, what's the best way to remove a scratch from a front lens element? Is it even possible? What do you think about scratch removal kits? You know, you ask the best way, not the most practical way. The best way is simple. Send it back to the manufacturer, send it back to Nikon or Canon, and they will change out your front element, and it probably won't even be that expensive. Typically, maybe, I don't know, well, it depends on your lens. But they do that. That's a service part. They can do that. That is the best way. Scratch removal kits, I don't think much of it. But you know what? Professionally, you know what you do? You get out your magnifying goggles. You go on Amazon.com, and you search magnifying goggles like a jeweler or watchmaker uses. These things come down. They got 2 little viewers on them, so you're seeing in 3D. So you can see very precisely. You go to the art supply store, you buy the tiniest little hairbrush you can, and you get some black paint. And all you do is you paint in that scratch, because you're not going to see that scratch in your pictures. You might see some light that it refracts onto other parts of your picture and reduce your contrast, but you're not going to see the scratch. So what you want to do is paint it in black paint, but only inside the scratch. And now it won't affect your contrast, and that's what the pro solution is, black paint. Or send it back in and get it serviced. That is an excellent question. Thank you very much, sir. Again, I'm Ken Rockwell with KenRockwell.tv and KenRockwell.com. And I'm answering your questions live here if you'll just be so kind as to type them into the comments section. What equipment is best for a budget home video production studio? You know, the best equipment is stuff that's free, stuff you can build yourself. For lighting, you know, you can typically build your own lighting. Go down to the home improvement store and just buy lights. Buy tungsten lights. The halogen lights, like those 500-watt work lights. Don't buy the LED lights because they probably will flicker and probably be off color. Buy the 500-watt tungstens. It's going to get hot in there, though. And then be very careful about how you make reflectors and so forth. But the best way is to build it yourself or buy it used, if that answers your question. My favorite film camera and lens combo of all time. Easy. Leica M3 from 1950s through 1960s. And give me the dual range 50mm Summicron. And there we go. Because in the old days, SLRs were used for action and sports with 35mm. But today, nobody's shooting action and sports on 35mm, unless you're insane. You shoot digital for that because you can shoot at 5 frames a second. So now for film, we're shooting slowly and carefully. I'm sorry to say it, but Nikon and Canon DSLRs, or I should say 35mm SLRs, the lenses were never as good as as the Leica rangefinder cameras, and I shoot it all. My Leicas are so sharp, they make my Nikon gear look broken. So no, shooting an f6 is not the way to shoot film. Shoot a Leica, and it'll be much sharper. Remember, you're not shooting sports in action. You're shooting slowly. Bought the FE off my review. Yes, the FE is also a great camera. This channel I meant, Bursted. I thought you meant that. Haha, fair enough. Okay. Recoding lens elements is never cost effective. Cheapest way is to buy a new element as replacement part, then you can buy tools needed to install it. Well, Miami Movie suggests about repairing. I don't know that I would have enough guts to take my lens apart, because you do want to do some realignment and maybe change the shims. You need an optical bench to do that. It's not really directly changed. In fact, those of us who really know about lenses know that as productions change, you can't just order the same element and pop it in, because you probably do need to make some adjustments. As different batches of glass come by, they do change slightly the design of the lens. So I'd say send it to the maker or paint it with black paint. I personally wouldn't waste my time trying to replace an element because I don't think the results would be good. I certainly would never pay somebody to try to regrind or polish it off, because although you can do that to maybe a window, you're going to change the curvature of your lens by polishing it. Let's face it, by definition, you're changing the curve because you're taking lens off. Oh, Miami Moves, what is a good set of gels? Well, you know, these lights that I'm using, these Luxli lights, see here? They actually have gels built in. For those of you who just joined us, let me show you that. I can go to this app, I hit the gel. Here we go, I want a green gel, boom. I want a magenta gel, boom. I want a blue gel, boom. And these are all with the Lee colors. This is 98 slate blue. 22, double CTO. 51, mauve. 40, paler lavender. 15, quarter CTB. 48, lilac tint. So I wouldn't think you need to dye gels anymore with these latest lights. A good set of gels. Personally, the gels I bought is I only use CTO gels. Quarter CTO, half CTO, full CTO, that I do use over my electronic flashes on my cameras. And the reason I use gels on my camera flash is to match the ambient light. When I'm shooting indoors under tungsten, I set the camera white balance to tungsten, then I balance the flash to that, and then everything looks good. Otherwise, the flash looks too blue or the background looks too orange. All right, visitors? You know, this is funny. I'm waiting for the gardener may show up. Okay. And the funny thing about gels is, you know, I hate to be so cheap because it's kind of cheating, but just for covering your electronic flash, when you buy a gel, it comes several feet on a side. It's a gel that's a lifetime, like multiple lifetime supply. You can just go get the free filter book at any stage and lighting warehouse, or, you know, step into B&H. I'm sure they have those in the motion picture section. Look at this hair. I need a haircut. And the filter books are all like 1 by 3 inches. You can just tape those over your flash, and they're already pre-cut, and they're free. John Gaspar says, listen to YouTube 1.5 speed up rate to get through it faster. Yes. For those of you who didn't know, YouTube, just click the gear. You can change the playback rate, and the pitch doesn't change. So if I'm speaking too fast for some of our non-native English speakers, you can slow it down. And for people like me, I just speed it up and get through the rubbish faster. Why don't I like film simulations on Fuji cameras? You know, it does. I admit, Fuji, if they did it right, the Velvia simulation would be awesome. The problem is they didn't do it right. It looks like they just tried to match a scan of Velvia film. They didn't try to match how Velvia actually looks. And because the film simulations are not very good, I don't like them. If you put me in a laboratory, I could get it to look good, but they didn't ask me. I think they just took a scan and then ran a color simulation to match the scan to what the camera took. But the problem is they've crushed the blacks, which is typically what happens in a bad scan. They're trying to match a bad scan of Velvia. So that's why. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome for all the answers. Thanks for asking. Miami says Leica hand grinds all their lenses. Well, actually, no one hand grinds lenses for Leica. They are ground in heaven by angels for Leica. Much like my iPhone is made in heaven by angels and geniuses. This is Ken Rockwell with KenRockwell.com and KenRockwell.tv, live here on YouTube. I've been going for over 2 hours. I'm eventually going to go pee, but even with all this drink, I haven't yet. I'm answering your questions that you can post to me live here simply by putting them in the comment section. Okay, someone has a question. They forgot to mention Nikon vintage lens may not work. Nikon vintage lens. You know, it's probably not worth fixing. We call that a discount because it doesn't affect the picture. And so if you're worried about it, you could take some black paint and very carefully try to put it in there. But make sure you, like my dad is an expert model maker, and he could paint that scratch over, you'd never even see it. Or an auto detailer. Auto detailers. I know when I detail my cars, if there's a scratch, I put on those same magnifying goggles and get that same fine thing, and I can fill in a scratch so you don't even know it was there. That's the best thing to do, but don't try to make it clear paint. Just make it black paint, so you basically make that no longer contribute to the optical function of the lens. Let's see. Somebody said, given the bad financial report that Nikon just released, it appears that it's only a matter of fact, and it sounds like it's responding to something I don't know. My general comments on Nikon are, skip that. You know, Nikon's been going downhill for the camera industry for about 5-10 years now. They've had big layoffs because, I don't know, because they are, but Nikon's been around over 100 years. They are not going to go away. They're just going to change. They're going to adapt, and that's why businesses like them stay around forever. Like Atlantic Telephone and Telegraph, AT&T, who, believe it or not, the chief executive officer of AT&T used to be Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone. Clearly, they adapt to change the business model. And so Nikon, I believe, some time back, went to, where did they go to? Nikon put more money into their medical imaging because they thought that was more important. So, who would I like to see? Before they sell? I don't think Nikon's gonna sell. And if they do, who cares? You know, I was really saddened because I realized the funny thing was in the professional audio industry, we were all laughing at how Harman was buying up everything back 10 or 20 years ago. And the saying was, if it's not Harman, it's not audio. I mean, they bought up Studer Revox and Neumann and Sennheiser and AKG and everything. But then it was so sad, they sold out to Samsung. So that means, oh gosh, now this stuff is all owned by Samsung, which takes some of the shine off of it. But anyway, thank you, sir. What am I drinking? I am drinking Snapple Diet iced tea. You know, I need to go put some ice in this because even my insulated bottle, I've been out for 2 hours now. It's still cold, but it's not icy. What's the time in the USA? In New York, it's 2:40 p.m. in the afternoon, and in California, it's 2:40 p.m. in the afternoon. Australian YouTuber speculated, clearly can be ignored. Nikon fitted medium format sensor from the Z cameras. Any thoughts? Yeah, you know, you need to look at the diameter of the mount. You probably could, but so what? Comments on iPhone 11 Pro lens flare, made in heaven. Yes, iPhone 11 Pro, this is made in heaven. In fact, you know the way you know this iPhone 11 Pro is made in heaven because it's not marked anywhere on it that it's made anywhere. Because it is made in heaven. And because there are some people who are heaven deniers, they just figured that, I'm kidding. But I figured, you know, Apple figured they wouldn't stir up controversy because it was made by angels. But no, I'm kidding, of course. In terms of lens flare, yes, the usual camera that you use, not this rear camera, there's usually is one slight little dot. In other words, if here's the sun, there's sometimes be a little dot of flare there, but it's not a problem because it's easy to spot out in Photoshop or in Snapseed, so I don't worry about it. Do I clean my camera sensors and lenses? No, I have never cleaned a camera sensor. I will suck it out with a shop vac, which sounds like the hillbilly redneck American way to do it, which it is, and my shop vac is made in USA. I put my camera on bulb, I jam that sucker in there, and I just suck it out, and I'm astounded that I haven't sucked out my shutter, but it's worked okay. If it needs a better cleaning, I'll send it to the manufacturer for cleaning, which is rare. My lenses I clean all the time. I use fuzzy microfiber towels, as you can get at Costco or Target, the fuzzy ones. And I just very carefully breathe on my lens, clean it off. If I have a real problem with something, honestly, there hasn't been anything that won't come off with a microfiber towel and some breath. Before I used microfiber towels, back when you could actually talk to a technician at Nikon, they said use 100% isopropyl alcohol, laboratory grade. Just rub it on and let it evaporate, and that's good. And if you have a friend who works in, say, a biology lab, they usually have that stuff on tap, and they can get you like a lifetime supply, get you a few ounces, just bring it home from work. But you want reagent grade, I believe is what it's called. That way it evaporates, and it's just gone. There's nothing left on the lens. My opinion on Leica R-Glass in comparison to M and other top brands. Leica R-Glass was never really Leica. The only true Leica is Leica M. Leica M is eternal and immortal. Leica R-Glass was insufficient and too low quality, which is why they killed it and terminated it. It was for single lens reflex cameras. It therefore was optically compromised. And I don't think it was any better than Nikon, just heavier. It didn't excel, so I would say just use it as a paperweight. Leica M glass, again, is made in heaven. It's made in the holy city of Wetzlar, Germany, and they are the world's best lenses. They're not best when adapted. Like if you're using a mirrorless camera, other than a Leica camera, use that brand. Use Canon lenses on Canon, Nikon on Nikon, Sony on Sony. They'll work better because of the way that the lens interfaces to the sensor. Tell you what, are you guys having fun? I need a stretch. What should I do? Well, you know, I could either end the broadcast and come back. Let's see, am I allowed to go take a break and get something to drink? I want to put some ice in my drink. Oh, Black Dynamite. Is that Black Dynamite? Definitely having fun. Tell you what, you guys want to look at the pool and see if any Roadrunners cruise by? I'm going to go get some ice for my drink. Again, this is Ken Rockwell with KenRockwell.com. I'm not signing off. You can leave any questions you want in my comments, and I'll get back to them as soon as I run back out from outside. Do the samba. Thank you. I should ask for collections and donations to my Fix My Lawn Furniture Fund. This is so old that it doesn't hold on anymore. Okay, I'm back. Thanks for watching. And thank all of you who actually kept an eye on my pool while I went in to go change my drink. For those of you asking, this is hilarious. You guys actually care about this stuff. What am I drinking? Diet Snapple. Got it at Costco. It's great. And my Z50 insulated bicycle water bottle with ice. Now, I promised, and I will now get to your questions. Let's see, what came in while I was gone? Again, Ken Rockwell here, responding to your questions live. Just leave them in the comments section. What are my thoughts on the Fuji GFX 50R? I love the GFX 50R. It's my favorite medium format digital. You can go to kenrockwell.com and simply use my search bar to look for the GFX 50R review. I have explicit detail and real photographs, sample image files from it. It's great. It's the same thing as the GFX 100. I hated the GFX 100 just because it's big and clunky. I could care less about the resolution. It's the same format as the GFX 50R. The GFX 50R is like a Texas Leica. It's just a little bigger in every dimension, but it handles so brilliantly. Just like the smaller version cameras. It's got a professional 4:3 aspect ratio, not 3:2. So it's a nifty camera. If you shoot Fuji, I would highly recommend it. And last I looked, it was kind of selling at a discount. It was selling like $4,000. I'm not sure what it is today. But that is my favorite camera. The earlier model was bigger and clunkier. And the thing is, do you want a nice camera or nice pictures? Something experience has taught me is the bigger, clunkier cameras do not take better pictures. They just cost more. The format is everything. And that camera is small, it's light, and it's got a big format, and I love it. Now, GFX 50R I would not use for nature landscapes, although I took some fantastic nature landscape pictures with it because I prefer the color saturation I can get as a JPEG file out of my Nikons and Canons. But if you're shooting RAW, then you make your own colors after the fact. So that would be your own thoughts. Oh my gosh, some thoughts on the Canonet QL17 or QL19. Funny you should ask. My Canonet QL17 G3 was the first Canon camera I ever bought for myself back in the 1970s. I still have it, and it still works. It was actually made in Taiwan, heaven forbid. But the QL G317 Quick Load, QL stands for Quick Load. Look how I just know this stuff. That Canonet is a 35mm compact camera. It has a fixed lens on it. It was an f1.7, just the 17 in the model number. I bought that when I worked in a newspaper. And I bought that for things just for grab shots when my Nikon manual focus, manual exposure cameras might not have been fast enough that I could set up. He said, that's what I was saying. When you're in a newspaper, you never know what's going to happen. You want to be able to go, boom. That camera had automated exposure. It runs on a 625 battery, which today you would use a metal adapter ring. I think I have this stuff on my website. Metal adapter ring, which lets you use regular PX13, I think they are. I get them at Costco. They're zinc air batteries. And I think for about $10, you get about 40 of them. And with those, they work perfectly. You don't need to adjust or calibrate anything. It was kind of a dinky camera, though. It was offshore to Taiwan. I remember the shutter button as part of the autofocus system was always a little bit loose. But the thing is, it still works. It's got a mechanical shutter. It only goes down to 1/4 of a second. Flash sync is at a 500th. It's a great little camera with sharp. Oh, the other thing I liked about it was it came with a case, which by now is deteriorated. I used to actually take that around on my bicycle. I used to put that in my bicycle, my back bag, and take it everywhere because I wasn't going to take my Nikons on my 50-mile bike rides back 50 years ago, which everybody thought I was insane for other reasons because 50 years ago, well, not 50, whatever, late 70s, early 80s, I'd be riding around Long Island and go for like 50-mile, 60-mile bike rides back and forth to college. People thought I was totally cracked in the head because in the United States, nobody rides bicycle except for kids back then. And so they thought that any adult would ride a bicycle was, number one, insane. It's like riding a tricycle. And then number two, that you go for like 50 miles. Like, well, what happened? Were you stuck in a desert island and had to get home? But oh, it was great. Kept me strong. Let's see. Dennis asks, have I ever worked together with some of the big camera manufacturers? Yes, I have worked with them to provide insight. And what I think is hilarious is they hire these public relation firms or market research firms that they're paying $500 an hour to. And those research firms then call me and it's all secret, and they try to get my input. And, the door is always open. If any of you guys work for any of these big companies or small, please, my contact information is on my website. Ken@kenrockwell.com is my email. Just send me an email, and I'll give you my phone number. We'll talk. I love contributing, and that's good. What is interesting is is the Oriental manufacturers, those from the Orient, they don't really seem to care because we're Americans and we're foreigners and what would we know? It seems the American manufacturers, like, well, I would say, oh, but it's great because they'll listen to me. And I see my innovations sometimes showing up in their stuff, which is really good. So that's it. Yes, they do call me and well-deserved break. Thank you. And they do ask for input, but the sad thing is the makers from the Orient don't always pay attention to what I say, but that's okay. For instance, the things I complain about, Nikon's settings banks. Stupid idea. It's been stupid since 2003, but because I guess the way things work in Japan is although they are fantastic innovators, I guess when somebody else has invented something, they don't want to just say, that's a stupid idea. Like Americans, we have a sales meeting, we're like, that's a stupid idea. The marketing guy asks us, what do we think? Japan, they're all very polite, like, oh no, very good idea. Nobody wants to say this is a stupid idea. We do the same thing in America. General Motors cars used to have 2 keys, one for the door, one for the ignition, so you had to have 2 keys for your GM car. Stupid idea, but they did it for decades. What kind of photos? Excellent question. The photos that have made me the most money, believe it or not, are the photos of my kids and family. Why? Well, it's a myth. Nobody wants to pay me for my pretty pictures of Yosemite. Why? Because everybody has pretty pictures of Yosemite. This has always been the case. Remember, I was reading once in some photo magazine, it's like, yeah, do you really think anyone's gonna buy your 35 millimeter slides of Yosemite? No, they're gonna buy somebody else's 4x5s, and everybody is shooting in Yosemite, so there's an infinite supply of those pictures, so no, don't expect to get rich selling people pretty scenic pictures. People buy pictures to make themselves money. Now, yes, people do buy my pictures as fine art, but that's not as big a market, certainly not here in the United States, where people don't appreciate art as much as they do in Europe. The pictures of my family, people buy those because it shows a family doing fun things, or taking a medical vaccine, or whatever it happens to be, and that helps those manufacturers or those people who pay me for my pictures encourage other people to spend money on whatever products it is that my family was using. Again, they just see pictures that I publish on my website, and they come and ask me to lease them. What do you call it? Leasing? License them. So in other words, it's pictures that help somebody else make more money. It's not really for art. Because why? Not that art's any worse, but there's so much pretty pictures out there. And with digital today, when everybody's an expert, gosh, there's no shortage of pretty pictures. In fact, everybody usually has their own pretty pictures, so they don't need to come to me. The reason people have bought my pictures of family is because, it's everything I shoot is off the cuff, but my kid pictures, some manufacturers or, major corporations said, yeah, but yours just look cute. And no matter what we do, we really just can't find anything we like as good. And you should know too, if somebody sees a picture of yours and tries to buy it from you and they don't like the rate and they go out and copy it, that actually is copyright infringement. I didn't believe that, but it is. But there's a couple of stipulations. In other words, whoever it is has to have seen your image and known about it, and then gone off and copied it because they didn't want to pay you for it. That actually is copyright infringement. You can look that up. I wouldn't believe that, but it is. Fill flash with mirrorless. Canon cannot preview photo with a fill flash. Correct. You can't preview photo with a fill flash till the flash goes off. I love the Fuji X100 fill flash. Okay, fill flash on all cameras. Let me just talk about it. I'm doing a little bit of video lighting here because this is continuous light and I can't use here we go. And I can't use a strobe. I've got these LED continuous lights on me, these Luxli lights that are made in Norway. And if I turn the lights off, it looks like this. You'll also notice that this is all blown out. And as I turn my supplemental lighting on, not only do I lighten up, but the overall exposure can go down to bring that into focus. For fill, there's really nothing different on mirrorless versus digital single lens reflex. The problem is the maximum sync speed is no more than a 2/50th of a second, which means if you're shooting outdoors at a 2/50th, you're probably at like f11, f16, and well, probably about f11, f8 in broad daylight. And by the time you stop down to f11 or f8, you're gonna need a lot of flash power to compete with daylight to fill in the shadows versus daylight. So you need a big flash. If you can get to a higher synchronization speed or sync speed, like 1,000th, you can open up by 2 stops. Now, most people don't understand this. If you go to kenrockwell.com and look for my article on flash sync speed, I explain all this in more detail. But something like the Fuji X100 uses a leaf shutter and flash synchronization goes up to a 4,000th. So you can shoot at, say, a 2,000th of a second, then what, f4, f2.8? Now, the flash exposure is only determined by the aperture. So you need much less flash power to match daylight at f2.8 than you did if you had stopped down to f11. but the amount of daylight contribution is the same. In other words, if you're shooting at, say, a 250th at f8 versus, let's say, 250, 500, 1000, 2000, 8, 5, 6, 4, 2, 8. If you're shooting at a 2000th at f2.8 versus a 250th at f8, the daylight exposure is exactly the same. The ambient exposure is the same. But the fill flash now is working through an f2.8 aperture versus f8. So you can have a 3-stop weaker flash and get great results. And that's why the Fuji X100 series, with the leaf shutter that synchronizes at those high speeds, can get such great results, even at longer distances in daylight, with that microscopic little P flash that you can't do with the DSLR unless you have a big on-camera flash. Ken Rockwell Live, answering your questions. Andrew Storm asks, have I learned a new photography technique this year? No, unfortunately not yet, because this year kind of stopped in February. In fact, I still think it's February because we all got locked down in February. I'm surprised when I go outside and there's not like snow all around. So this has been a very unusual year. I've been totally locked down and haven't left. So I wish I have, and I'm always trying to learn. Visit the seals in La Jolla. You know what was weird was I've heard that people are running all over the place. I mean, everything's closed and people are running around in the beaches in San Diego. So I don't know. What kind of a camera do combat photographers carry? You know, I usually believe they're DSLRs. The guys I've talked to are shooting Nikons or Canons out in the desert. Trick is use rubber bands, wrap it around your lens mount, because although most of these cameras claim to have little dirt gaskets, they're still, you know, not that effective. Just take some of those big fat rubber bands, just wrap them around your lens mount, it'll keep dirt from getting in there. Remember something I would do, not combat, but whenever I'd be incredible, like shooting on sailboats, yacht racing, is just take a Ziploc, put the camera in there, close the Ziploc, simply cut a little around where the filter goes, screw a UV filter on over the bag. So the bag is cut out and grabbed by the filter, but there's no bag covering the lens. The filter covers the lens. And likewise for the camera eyepiece, if you have one of the screw-on eyepieces on the Nikon, cut out the Ziploc bag so you can see through the finder. But now you've got to wind the film. Oh, that's right. I would use a motor drive camera. This is back in film days. Use a motor drive camera so you can push the thing through the and focus, manual focus through the Ziploc bag. But today, you know, today people have more money, and I do too. So I would probably buy one of these EWA Marine, EWA, or one of these various clever housings. In fact, the Think Tank makes them too that are rainproof, and you can actually stick your hands up through. And that's it. Gee, I've been on air for 160 minutes. That is quite a while. Okay, here we go. And coming up. The sprinkler just turned off. I think I probably should take a break. I think it's probably time to end this video today because it shouldn't be a stamina test. So I'm going to say thank you folks very much for joining me after 160 live continuous minutes. Again, this was ostensibly to play with these new Luxli lights I bought. And you know, here's the thing. I wanted to see how they worked. And I think they're working okay. So here's with the lights on. And here's with them off. And I'm controlling them, by the way, with the free Luxli app on my iPad, which is below my iPhone. And so I can just use my fingertips here and slide around and change the color temperature from warmer to cooler. And you see the beauty of this is? I mean, this is fun to go, ooh, it's like there's a joke here. But the key is that I can adjust it until it looks just right. And admittedly, today you folks are telling me what you think looks just right, which I think you said was around 5,000 Kelvin. And that's it. So thank you so much for watching. You can always, to be honest, on this video, I don't know if I'll be getting continuous. Well, maybe I will. But if you put a question in any of my YouTube videos, I usually try to check those and get to those comments. And I would put a question as a comment. Send me an email, ken@kenrockwell.com. I love helping them all. Donnie asks, are they Wi-Fi? Excellent question. The lights are Bluetooth, which means you've got maybe 30 feet of range. So in other words, if they're in the same room, 30 feet of real range. I mean, that's probably rated to like 100 feet. The key is if they're in the same room, i.e. if you can see them, they will probably work on Bluetooth. But if they're the next room over, probably not, which is just as well. But they work on Bluetooth. I do have to appreciate that this app is super easy to use. And I haven't seen anything the app can't do. In fact, the app could do a lot more than I can. In fact, okay, I'm going to have some fun here. I really got a kick out of running some of these special effects. For instance, let's see. What if the cops want to get me? Let's put on the cops. Okay, the cops are chasing me here. Look at that. Okay, Rockwell, you're under arrest. Knock it off. Yeah, I didn't cover. Here's lightning. Oh, scary night. Lightning. Oh, help me. This looks great. Here's one of my favorites for use around the house. Caveman style. Here's fire. Oh, fire. That's with a storm. Anyway, thank you so much for watching Ken Rockwell, KenRockwell.com, and Ken Rockwell. I'll say that over again because it's live TV. This is Ken Rockwell with KenRockwell.tv and KenRockwell.com. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.